Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, June 17th, and the public safety meeting is now called to order. We begin to acknowledge that the land on which we gather and that is currently known as the city of West Hollywood is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kizh people. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Ramian, will you please lead us?
Yes.
Please stand and place your right hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we are going to have the oath of office of our new commissioner. Mayor John Erickson will issue the oath. Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I,
I'll put this here so we can both see it in case you get flummoxed. All right, ready? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Stephen Post,
I, Stephen Post,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that while serving in the office
that while serving in the office
as a member of the Public Safety Commission
as a member of the Public Safety Commission
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance,
to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome. And then they'll send you a digital copy.
Beautiful.
Commission Secretary, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Here.
Commissioner Post? Chair Hallman?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Post, let me welcome you, and also to the bottom of the mic, there's a little button if you press it, but make sure you have to lean in so we can hear you. So welcome to the commission.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda for June 17th, 2024? Can I get a motion to approve? And
Moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Great. Commission Secretary, may I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from our May 13th, 2024 meeting? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes?
In a second?
Second.
And Commission Secretary, may I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The minutes are approved.
Great. Thank you, Commission Secretary. Item 7, public comments. Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments in chambers tonight?
Yes, we do have some public comments in chambers. The first public comment is Mikey Friedman. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Mikey Friedman, West Hollywood. I came here tonight to talk to you about your bosses, the City Council, and about safety for pedestrians. Sadly, some of the council are engaging in double talk. We want to know what actions they have taken to make our sidewalks safer for pedestrians. They are vigorously promoting safety for bicycle riders and safety and mobility for scooter riders, but what the hell are they doing for pedestrians? So far, nothing that we can see. Summer is here, and scooter riders are going to increase. Have they put up any large visible signs saying no scooter riding and hefty fines for riding on the sidewalk? No. Apparently, thanks to our sheriffs, scooter citations have increased for riders, but what about abandoned scooters that are being left on sidewalks? Please, officers, continue increasing the citations and include bikers and abandoned scooters. But there's more. Is our city council keeping delivery robots out of pedestrians' way? No. In fact, there was a news article yesterday with photos of our mayor promoting them with the man who is decorating them. And finally, and the very most important to us as far as pedestrians go, is Block by Block really protecting people who are walking at night? Some people say they are, but those 3 men who were assaulted and robbed at gunpoint on Larrabee, a mere 2 blocks from my apartment, would not have been helped by an unarmed Block by Block escort. The robbers probably would have robbed him too. I think drones will do a lot more to keep us safe than Block by Block could do. I vote for drones and more sheriffs walking patrols and cameras, especially at night. The Block by Block personnel that I have met are so nice, but nice doesn't help solve crimes, especially at night. Or am I droning on? Because I'm not saying to dump Block by Block entirely, but I am saying spend less money on them and more money on sheriffs and technology like drones and cameras. Also, we should vote for a district attorney who is a lot tougher on crime, not the present one just because he's friends with people on the city council. Look, I know you have been appointed by city council members, but even so, your loyalty should not be to them, but to the people of West Hollywood. You are, after all, not just safety commissioners, but you are the Public Safety Commission. If you hold your council's feet to the fire and make sure that our safety is their #1 priority, then you'll be doing us, the residents of West Hollywood, a huge service, and we'll thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. The next speaker we have is Daniel Barilla. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Daniel Barilla, resident of West Hollywood for over 12 years now or so. And it's crazy. I didn't know the story reached people that were so local. Like, I'm one of the 3 people, that were robbed on Larrabee and Cynthia. I never thought in a million years that something like this could happen to me. You hear it happening to other people, maybe not friends, but like people that know people that know people. Like, that would never happen, so you don't take it seriously. And I never thought I would get involved in the way that I've gotten involved with the news and going on to NBC and doing radio interviews, because after that all happened and I went through my trauma for the first 3 days of last week, I was like, what can I do to make the city safer? And the answer is, I can't do anything, but I can talk to people that can do things, because I know action doesn't really happen unless there's pressure from outside sources like news and whatnot. And in a city where I pay taxes, and the block by block thing specifically that we pay for safety. I have never felt safe walking around West Hollywood. It's been getting worse and worse the past couple years, and I think it's because this block by block kind of initiative has made headlines in the worst ways when it comes to criminals. I think they know that there are areas of West Hollywood that that are just not patrolled whatsoever. And it's the word's getting out there, specifically Cynthia, between San Vicente, Larrabee, and Palm. As you all know, maybe that Palm, we all nickname it Murder Street in West Hollywood because people have been murdered on Palm, robbed on Palm so many times. But the crazy thing is, there have been 33 robberies that have been reported this year. I might have the numbers wrong, but I didn't write anything down. And they all just get washed under the rug. And people aren't talking about it. They're afraid to talk about it. And I'm going to be one of those people that are not afraid to talk about what happened to me and my friends. Because one of my friends, you'll see he's here and he's going to talk a little bit too, that he just moved to West Hollywood, just moved to that area, and he moved one house away from where we were robbed. We were robbed at gunpoint. And because we're supposed to feel safe with these people walking around. They don't have guns. Just like Mikey was saying, was that they can be robbed as well. There's nothing protecting us. I see no sheriffs whatsoever walking up and down the streets. Santa Monica Boulevard, Melrose, Sunset, yes, but like the streets where people live, I feel so afraid to go home now. I haven't been to the bar yet. I am at the bars all the time from like dodgeball and kickball and stuff, but now I'm just afraid for my life, and I never thought in a million years that I should have to be that, especially when my taxes pay for things to make me feel safe, and I feel anything but safe. So, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. The next speaker we have is Matthew Broughton. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Broughton. Most people call me Matt. I am one of the other people involved in the recent robbery on Larrabee. As Dino mentioned, I just moved here about 3 weeks ago. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that my life was almost taken from me. This is the first time that I've talked about this publicly. It's been very, very hard on me, and I'm trying my best not to cry in front of all of you right now. I've lived in LA for about 3 years, and I've heard about, things happening in West Hollywood, but it's different when it happens to you. Especially during Pride Month, our community is under attack. There is countless people that this is happening to since this happened to me, I've heard several people. I have extreme PTSD as a result. This happened right in front of my brand new apartment. I can't go out at night. I'm having a hard time sleeping. I'm having a hard time eating. My safety has been taken from me. And I want you to all imagine for a second if this happened to your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your friend, and having to be in a place where this is West Hollywood, this is where the LGBTQ plus community comes together, and we don't feel safe. I certainly don't feel safe. So I want to take a moment to tell you what happened. During Pride Month, we were walking, in the early morning of Monday, and walking down having a great time, when 4 men jumped out of a car, pointed a gun at my stomach, took everything from me, and I know this is being broadcast, so I will not be cussing, proceeded to say a derogatory slur to me, that we all pretty much know what that slur is. Pointed a gun at me and said if I don't give them the passcode to my phone, they're going to shoot me. Tackled my other friend, took everything I have. I have no I'm trying to deal with my life. And it's really, really hard to go on each day to know that I now have to live here. This is a great welcome, right, to the city of West Hollywood. You just moved here, you worked so hard to come here, and now all of a sudden, I don't feel safe anymore. And it's really, really hard for me. So I want all of you as elected people or whatever your titles are to realize how important this issue is and how that particular area is now, it's been known that that is a problem in that area. So I would like to see some changes made. There needs to be more cameras in the area, more police patrol. There needs to be various things so this doesn't happen, because what if my life was taken? It was that close to being taken. And had I argued with those men, I probably would be standing here right now. And I just thank you all for letting me speak. I know my 3 minutes is almost up, but I really want you to just let that sink in. Imagine if it happened to someone that you know, and they were standing here trying to tell you that. Thank you for your time, my time.
Thank you, Matthew. Next, we have Enrique Quintero. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, West Hollywood officials, as well as fellow citizens. My name is Gerardo Enrique Gonzalez Quintero, and I have lived and played and worked in our fair city for over 13 years. Let it be clear, we are being targeted. These assaults are patterns. They're not events occurring in a vacuum. And what's my message to people who say they want to visit and spend money in West Hollywood? Don't come. Let's get to the details. On Wednesday, July 19th at approximately 1 a.m., I was assaulted by 3 individuals wielding 3 guns, 2 handguns and 1 long rifle at the intersection of Larrabee and Cynthia, 1 block away from my current residence. They wrestled me to the ground and left me battered and bruised and took from me my wallet and phone before speeding off. The incident was caught on camera. My case was handed over to Detective Candice Gonzalez of the West Hollywood Sheriff's Department. Using the Find My feature, I was able to track their location to a specific phone address that same day. On Google Street View, a vehicle matching the description of a black SUV from the video evidence was spotted in a multi-family residence on 1650 Arlington Avenue. I'm doing the cop's job, so hopefully I'll get a little bit of credit there. Eventually, my phone was tracked to a phone repair shop, but it was recovered by the LA Sheriff's Department. Extra video footage showing the perpetrators' faces again was discovered. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the case was forwarded over to federal agents, a Detective Rubin with the Special Crimes Department. To my dismay, Detective Rubin did not have much interest in pursuing my case. One day in mid-September, when I called to receive any updates on my case, Detective Rubin told me that they would not pursue a warrant on the assailants because, and I quote, they wanted to wait for them to strike again so they could have a stronger case. What if they kill someone next time, Detective? Was my response. I don't remember what he said, but the fact that I erased it from my mind tells me that it must have been something unfathomably stupid and something that I did not want to hear. 10 months later, I found out that my good friend Daniel Barilla and his 2 other innocent people suffered the exact same fate in the exact same location where I was violently assaulted. Is this how we treat violent individuals that specifically target our city? Let them do worse? Because I'm going to keep telling people, don't come. I still suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, diagnosed. I still jump at shadows. I'm still afraid of walking my dog at night, of doing anything at night. This is gonna keep getting worse. Unless you guys do something about it. What that thing is, it's not my job. That's why we elected y'all. So you can do that for us. More patrols would help, for sure. More cameras absolutely would help. And also, when you find evidence that people are violently assaulting others in our city, you actually do something about it. Because right now, all of them are talking to each other and saying, hey, you see this area full of all these drunk, probably rich gay guys? Go there at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. It's easy pickings. I yield my time.
Thank you, Enrique. Finally, we have Nick Roybal. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
First, to Danny and Matthew and Enrique, as somebody who lives with complex PTSD from traumas that I have experienced, I am so sorry. None of you deserve what happened to you. Commissioners, something isn't working, right, Chair Hellman? Something isn't working. Commissioner Nickel, something isn't working. Captain Mulder, Sergeant Duran, Director Rivas, something isn't working. Clearly. I don't know if any of you heard, but there was a Secret Service agent that was robbed at gunpoint this weekend. So something isn't working. And in our own little village, we shouldn't have resident citizens being targeted knowing that block by block ambassadors don't walk up certain streets and knowing that sheriffs don't do patrols. So these criminals are targeting certain populations because they have knowledge of something. What do they know that you all don't know? Captain Mulder, what do these criminals know that we don't know? They know something, right? They know that block by block, Chairman Hellman, isn't going up those side streets. These criminals know that they can have two people in a car with guns target young queer people walking up the boulevard after having a good time in community, rob them, scare them shitless, take their property, and then know that for the rest of their life they're going to have complex PTSD. I have a question for each commissioner sitting up here. Have any of you been robbed at gunpoint? Have any of you had a gun pointed at your head in a queer community, in a gay space, in a lesbian space, in a trans space? Have you ever had a gun pointed at your head in a safe space? I mean, right, we hear from Mayor Erickson, Vice Mayor Byers, that West Hollywood is this LGBTQ Camelot. Where you can get robbed at gunpoint? Is that the Camelot we're after? I don't think so. I have more to say this later in the meeting, but I do want to say, because the fire department I don't think is going to be here, why does our brand new fire station not have cameras? Can we get Chair Horvath to put cameras on our fire station? Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And that is all for the public comments.
Commission Secretary, do we have any comments in Zoom?
There are no Zoom comments.
Great, thank you very much. Item 8, unfinished business. It looks like we do not have any unfinished business on the agenda for the evening. So moving on to new business, the Los Angeles County, do we have fire with us this evening?
Good evening. So our fire department partners are out at the post fire dealing with the near Santa Clarita area. So unfortunately, they are unable to join us tonight at our meeting. However, they did share some of the reports of the calls that they reported to in the month of May of last month. So the total of 591 responses in the month of May in the city of West Hollywood. The majority of them, 430, were medical related. And we have provided additional details on the reports in the agenda packet as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Do we have any public comments? I know it wasn't a full report, but.
No public comments.
All right, thank you. Item 9B, the block by block security ambassadors will now provide a report and activity for the month of May 2024. Good evening.
Good evening. Just to go over some of our statistics for the month of May, business contacts totaled 3,721. Unhoused contact totaled 1,242 contacts, which was an average about 27 contacts per day. And calls for service averaged about 854 for the month, which averaged another 27 calls per day. And as we're looking at our calls for service that were an increase over the previous month, we did notice that there was an increase to code enforcement type calls where we did have a lot of community members reaching out for support on various issues around illegal parking, dumpings, trash pickups. We would like to remind residents that the city app is available, and while we are on proactive patrol, we are actively reporting any illegal dumpings or anything that we see without the community. But the city app is a great resource to find, to report some of those illegal dumpings. And anything that we can report directly to code, we will report. But we did see an increase in various calls around support for code enforcement. Some notable events for us, this was my first Pride event, definitely one that we saw an increase in vendors over the weekend. That was a majority of our work for the weekend, especially in the Rainbow District, keeping vendors out and making sure that local businesses were affected as little as possible. Obviously, during Sunday's parade, protesters were in part of the parade route. We were able to stand by really closely to a lot of the protesting groups. They remained pretty peaceful at the end of the parade route. Most exited off and continued not to really provide or give any issues throughout the day. No major incidences, thankfully, aside from our work, like I said, with controlling vendors on the boulevard, but no major injuries to report, no major incidences, and overall, I think we had a really great presence out on the boulevard. We had about 70 ambassadors over the 3 days on each day, all over the city, being the eyes and ears to code enforcement and our sheriff's partners. Other notable things that we're currently working on is, the first is our partnership with the COPS team and the home, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. COPS team and Healthcare in Action. We are having bi-weekly partnerships with them where we are going out and providing and supporting their outreach services, really kind of shadowing their services in order to support that and really educate our own teams to really reach out to Healthcare in Action to refer cases. So as I'm looking at our reports to Healthcare in Action, they have increased quite a bit. And so that is in an effort to really turn over mental health case issues to Healthcare in Action, and WehoCares as well, in order for more support. A lot of the contacts that we're making with the unhoused are not necessarily dangerous. A lot of them are mental health wellness checks, just checking on people, making sure that they're okay. So we're finding some success in that and making sure that we're getting our social service providers involved, and also more actively, reporting issues of mental health care to them. In addition, we've added a temporary kiosk to the Sal Guerrero Veterans Park. We've gotten a lot of great feedback about that kiosk being there. Right now it's 24/7. We noticed an influx of unhoused individuals converging to that area, and so we've been able to have some success with keeping those areas clear, to making sure the community is able to access that as much as possible. I would like to sincerely give my sympathy to the victims of the robbery on Larrabee and Cynthia. And although you are right, our block by block ambassadors are unarmed. But I think what I would like to remind residents is that we do provide safety escorts. And although we cannot prevent any sort of robbery, we can act as deterrents. Our safety escorts are available 24/7. So if you ever feel unsafe walking, from a business to your residence or any around the community, we've said this before in the past, if you even, need an escort to walk your dog, we're willing to do that. We can act as a deterrent. We do observe and report. So if any suspicious activity that we see, we're trained to look for those details, descriptions, vehicle license plate numbers. And so, for the month of May, for example, there was a reported robbery at Revolver Bar right around their corner that a taxi cab driver reported to one of our ambassadors. They went over, got details from the victims, passed it on to sheriffs as quickly as they would. The victims of that robbery were pretty shook up, and so we were able to kind of be the first on the scene to kind of transfer those details to the sheriffs in a timely manner. So if there's ever an opportunity for anyone to call us, please do. Again, our services are available 24/7, and our ambassadors are trained to look for details, suspicious activity, any slow-moving vehicles, anything that looks suspicious. At least will be an extra set of eyes and ears in the community to provide some safety.
What's the point if the sheriff does nothing? Enforces the federals and then they do nothing. What's the point of that?
I understand that you are upset. I do. However, there is a procedure that we need to follow in these meetings. So you will have a chance to ask questions after the commissioners ask questions.
That is the end of my report. If any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramian.
Thank you, Chair Holman. Erica, good to see you, and thank you for your report. I have a question when it comes to the assignments of block by block in regards to, the weekends. When the block by block ambassadors check in, are they assigned an area of West Hollywood that they're patrolling? And if so, are residential streets like Larrabee, Palm, Hilldale, the areas that are very heavy populated where customers park in those residential areas to frequent the Rainbow District bars. So is there a specific crew, ambassadors that are assigned to, say, patrol Cynthia, Larrabee, Palm, on a busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday night from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m.?
So our deployments are based on areas. So are they on individual streets, assigned to individual streets? No, they're not. They're assigned to areas. But residential areas on the west side are part of their deployments, especially at those times.
Would it be possible to possibly, I don't know, I'm just speaking, on a busy, especially during Gay Pride, or on a busy holiday weekend when, we have visitors coming into the Rainbow District, frequenting the bars, they park, above Cynthia and they walk down. Would it be feasible to schedule or assign block by block ambassadors solely on those streets, patrolling those streets, making sure, just riding their bicycles up and down to making sure that everything is all safe?
So as far as changing our deployments to assign to specific streets at certain times, that would be something that we would work with Danny and Anita to do, but we're certainly capable of doing that. If that's something that's necessary.
Because my concern is all of these illegal activities, the robberies, are happening in the Rainbow District by the bars. And these people who are coming in to West Hollywood, into the Rainbow District, know exactly what they're doing. And they know that those areas are not patrolled. So maybe it is something that we should consider to reevaluating what jurisdiction, what blocks that the ambassadors are patrolling to make sure that there is a visibility of not only block by block, but also the sheriff's department in those blocks.
Sure, and that is something that we continually talk about with Anita and Danny, changing our deployments, paying special attention to certain areas. With the kiosk at Sal Guerrero, that is one of them. The kiosk in front of the Palmer Park front lawn has been another one where, we see an increase in activity and we're able to adjust pretty quickly our deployments. So that's definitely something we can have conversations about, absolutely.
Also, because you did mention that you guys do escorts, if you want to walk our pets or walk into your car, but sometimes it's difficult finding an escort. If you're leaving the bars at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to sit around or stand around waiting for an ambassador to come by. And the call times for an ambassador for a non-emergency case is not going to be 5-10 minutes. Maybe a kiosk actually in the Rainbow District where the bars are situated. If customers want an escort to their vehicle, maybe another kiosk would be feasible. Yeah. I know there's several kiosks in West Hollywood. There's one by the Starbucks, Fairfax. So maybe on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, adding another kiosk, maybe by San Vicente in Santa Monica. I don't know where that location would be. That will be visible, and businesses can promote that if you want an escort, it's available. And then it'll be easily accessible rather than having to call it in, wait, and then, to go home.
Yeah. So again, definitely something that we can visit with Danny and Anita. But as far as calling in for a safety escort, right now we're answering calls for service on an average of 13 minutes, which is not a long time for us to get to certain locations. So I still highly, highly encourage folks to call our number, request a safety escort, and we can provide that personal service to them, within less than 13 minutes. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you, Erica, for your report. You mentioned the escorts, and the city, in response to, I believe it was NBC local news, the response was to media request. It mentioned block by block, and it mentioned escorts being available. But my question is I'm glad that we're discussing the fact that uniforms are a deterrent. More cops equal less crime. But when it comes to block by block, if you were escorting someone and there was an armed robbery, what would a block by block ambassador's training tell them to do?
So first and foremost, their personal safety is the #1 priority. So we don't train our ambassadors to engage in a verbal or physical altercation, potentially escalating violence or someone being seriously hurt. We will not do that. But their training does tell them to remain calm, observe for details, vehicles, descriptions. We do this every day. It's part of it's the core of what we do, looking at details, providing descriptions, and that is something that I think that we do really well. And in that moment, we while unarmed, those details, having that ability to remember those details and remain calm is crucial. So that when there is a moment of an opportunity to call into sheriffs, we've got those details and we get them quickly to them and work quickly to get a sheriff's response. In addition, once sheriffs have been called immediately after the situation has been deemed safe and we're able to make a safe call and no one is potentially in harm's way, we also call a 1099 to our own teams to provide additional support. And so in those instances where we have done that, we've been able to pursue potential criminals from a safe distance and provide information to the sheriff's department. So there is a benefit to having safety escorts and being a deterrent within the city. A uniform presence will always be a deterrent.
Thank you.
Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. I had a question for you, and I know that we've talked previously about how we could get a better look at what the deployments practically look like, and I know that that's still something that we're working on. But later today, and just broadly in the city, we're looking at different public safety technologies that we might be able to deploy in some of the the busier public streets, Santa Monica, Sunset, Melrose. Are you able to quantify, at least for us, how much with your current deployment of block by block, how often are they deployed and walking around those large public streets as opposed to neighborhood streets? Would you say it's 50% of the time that they're walking around on Santa Monica, Sunset, Melrose versus in the neighborhood streets?
So you're talking about percentage-wise how much time they're spending on certain
Yeah,
parts
are you able to broadly kind of make that assessment?
So what I can tell you is that we tend to shift our deployments to the rainbow districts, bringing in some folks from the east end, right after 1 o'clock, 1:30. That is when we start to kind of see clubs let out. And so we see a lot of activity on Robertson and Santa Monica. And so you'll see a lot more of a presence deployed on the boulevard and on the west end in the Rainbow District. As far as an exact percentage, as far as how much time they're spending in residentials, I wouldn't be able to give you that, unfortunately. But I do know that we definitely shift our deployments to go heavier during certain times of the night when we know, especially on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, when we know there are certain events going on, or around the time between, like I said, between 1 to 3, when people are starting to make their way outside of the bars and the lounges and the clubs. And we're going to see a lot of more traffic, foot traffic out on the boulevard, intoxicated individuals, and even pickpocketers. We've been able to successfully report pickpocketing incidences from several of the establishments that have been an ongoing issue, providing descriptions and even help individuals track some of these individuals down and escalating that information to the sheriffs.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and one of the benefits that I would say is that, you know, as our tool set maybe changes and maybe the scenarios that are going on locally, like Pride, one of the big benefits with Block by Block is the dynamic deployment, right? And we can look at this from a holistic approach, from, you know, as the tools in our toolbox for public safety increase, you know, some of those are going to not be as dynamically redeployable, right? As maybe Block by Block eyes are. So thank you.
Commissioner Aramian, did you have another question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to follow up, Erica. When we say that Block by Block can do these escorts on a busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in the Rainbow District, is Block by Block staffed with enough ambassadors to do these escorts? Because imagine, on a busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, people want to get to their cars, want to go home. Will Block by Block be able to fulfill all of those escorts? And is there going to be a line? Is it going to be, like, how's it going to work? That's my question, and that's my concern. You know, it sounds good having an escort, but how is a customer who's leaving Revolver at 1:30 in the morning, if he calls the Block by Block number, you know, and then you have Motherlode, then you have Hard, you have all these other bars in the Rainbow District, you have all these customers letting out. Is Block by Block staffed to handle all these escorts? And if we're doing all of these escorts, who's monitoring everything else in the Rainbow District on the east side, city center, and on the west side?
So hypothetically speaking, if we were to get an influx of 100 calls at once, physically, obviously, we would not be able to answer all of those safety escort calls that come in at once, you know, in a timely, or what would be deemed, you know, I think, a timely fashion by customers. I wouldn't be able to tell you, Adam, because that has not happened. Most of the safety escorts that we do get are in the early afternoon, you know, as we're getting into the early evening hours. We have not seen a majority of those calls come in from the overnight. I'd be happy to see what that would look like. And if we needed to adjust our deployments to, you know, provide these escorts in a timely fashion, or even, you know, do more hiring, I mean, I think we would have to wait to see how that would work, if that would actually happen. It's difficult for me to give you an answer when we're talking about hypothetical situations.
Because that's what we're promoting, right? We're promoting, Block by Block is promoting customers to call them. So is there a plan? So for example, we're promoting call Block by Block for an escort. So if there is an influx, is there a plan in place, hypothetically, if something was to happen?
Yeah, I think at this point, if there is an influx, and I think what we tell folks when they call in, if we're experiencing some delays in calls for service, is we'll let them know we are experience some delays in providing support. We try not to give individuals an estimated amount of time. We don't want to give individuals any wrong times. But what we do is call individuals back. We take information, let them know, hey, we're here, we're about 10 minutes out, at least to give folks an idea of when we'll be able to get to them. Unfortunately, we have not had those incidences where people are having to wait 20, 30 minutes, an hour. That has not happened. But if we were to get an influx of calls, then I think at that point we would make adjustments. We would look at our deployments, and if we needed to make adjustments then we would definitely look at that.
Well, I believe it hasn't happened because we're just barely starting to promote it. We're barely starting to tell people that block by block is available for escorts.
Yeah.
So I want everyone to know that, and that's maybe something that the city should also promote, that if you need an escort, call for an escort,
Yeah.
or have a security guard call block by block,
Yeah.
and an escort will happen. Because if the word gets out there, I guarantee you there will be people who will take the offer
I hope so.
to walk 2-3 blocks to their car
Yeah.
or to their residence.
Yeah.
I know we don't see that right now, because I don't think visitors, residents know
Right.
that it's available to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and we try to get the information out anytime we are in the public, or we're doing like an open house, or even forums like this. We don't see an increase in that. That happens, that's pretty significant, so I hope we do.
And just to add for the commission as well, and to support what Erica's been explaining, so city staff does meet with block by block on a weekly basis, and we go over deployments, especially pre and post major events such as Pride. And so we have never come across any sort of situation where, when looking at calls and specifically safety escorts in the Rainbow District specifically, because we know there is a lot of pedestrian traffic, we know there's a lot of folks that are coming in, we have not seen one instance yet where a block-by-block ambassador was incapable of being able to respond. And we have not received any complaints as well from the community. But to your point, Commissioner Ramian, I'm sure that there are several visitors that come into town that are not familiar, of course, with the different services that are being provided to folks. We actually have been continuing to market and promote the safety escorts since the expansion of the block-by-block contract in 2022. So it has been some time. We advocate and market that at National Night Out. We did that recently as a part of the Public Safety Commission open house. We did a mass mailer citywide as well. We've also worked with our communications department in terms of pushing information out. But again, that's going mainly towards residents and folks that are engaged. We'll continue to advocate and promote as much as possible. I know that several of the kiosks as well that are on the boulevard also have handouts and brochures and things that they're constantly trying to get the word out about the safety escorts. So in terms of adjustments and deployment, we'll definitely be taking everything that the commission has mentioned this evening and from the community members as well, and looking at readjustments and making sure not only on the major thoroughfares that that the residential streets, right, the ancillary streets that are on the sides of those major thoroughfares as well are being patrolled more often. They are being patrolled, and I know a lot of folks ask questions about, well, you know, we hear there's 85 ambassadors, but please understand that that's not 85 ambassadors working one particular shift. That's 85 ambassadors working 3 different shifts, 7 days a week. So they're broken up no differently than our sheriff's department station in terms of deployment, where we can say we have 62 sworn personnel, but that doesn't mean you have 62 sworn personnel working one particular shift, right? That's 62 sworn staff that are working different shifts, right? 7 days a week. So point taken, but we'll continue to work with them and making sure that we're heavier on the later early morning hours around some of those ancillary streets that we've heard the community bring issues, unfortunately, to our attention in terms of what happened recently.
Thank you, Director Rivas. Commissioners, any additional questions before we move? Yes. Commissioner Harrison.
The button's not working. Hi. How large are the areas when you talked about designated, like, for instance, you don't have someone that's just on Palm, but how large are the designated areas and how many ambassadors in those areas that they're designated to, roughly?
When you say how large are the designated areas, Commissioner Harrison, can you
Like how
expand on
many
your
blocks? Is it several blocks that an ambassador is assigned to? You said they were assigned to areas. What do those areas look like? How many of those are there?
Okay, so we've got 4 areas of deployment: East 1, East 2, West 1, West 2, and then Mid City. Within West, for example, West 1, West 2, we're encompassing Santa Monica, Sunset, and residentials in between North and South to Melrose as well. So it's quite a few blocks. So, you know, to reiterate what Danny just mentioned about our ambassadors being spread over a number of weeks and hours, it is challenging to have an ambassador at every block, at every street, at every hour of the day. That's impossible. But the area is split up. Ambassadors are then deployed to certain areas within those, for example, West 1, West 2, on north side and south side of the main boulevard to cover residentials as well.
Got it. Thank you. And are they typically the same individuals that are assigned to, if my person, I'm, you know, living on Harper Avenue, is it going to be the same person?
Not necessarily. We try to switch up our deployments so nobody gets comfortable in one area. We like to be well versed on different parts of the city, all the nooks and crannies within all the residentials. So when we train our ambassadors, we train them on the entire scope of our deployments.
Got
So
it.
It's not just
I
one
know
geographic
business,
area.
reaching out to businesses is a big goal, right?
Yeah,
Making contact
yeah.
with businesses.
For sure.
Are you doing the same on residential level?
As far as reaching out to residents?
Reaching out to residents outside of National Night Out, outside of other, you know, if I see a block by block ambassador walking down the street, are they introducing themselves? Are they, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity there to make more direct contact.
Of course. Are we knocking door to door? No.
A lot of doors.
We're not. But obviously, when our ambassadors are on patrol, especially in the residential areas, and we see, you know, people walking by, hello, you know, they know who we are. A lot of them know. A lot of folks within the community know us by name. For me personally, I make it a point to offer my presence at community neighborhood watch meetings. So again, I'd like to put that out. I think that's kind of the best way. When I hear concerns coming from neighborhood watch captains, what I do then is I take those down to our teams and like, hey, we've got the Cynthia neighborhood watch captain, she let me know that, this is going on in her neighborhood, let's kind of be aware of that. So that to me is helpful. I can't have all of our ambassadors, attending these, but I can, and I can filter that information down to our teams.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions before we move on to public comments? Thank you. Commission Secretary, public comments.
Yes, we do have some public comments. First one is Mikey Friedman. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
I didn't plan on speaking on this, but I have a few notes. I spoke with you one day at a meet and greet, and I gave you Tisa Meglieri's phone number. She is the owner-manager of the Whiskey A Go-Go. She told me she has never seen a block-by-block person there or anywhere on Sunset west of San Vicente. Also, Elise Eisenberg has complained that block-by-block never goes up to 1230 Horn. I went to speak there on scooters one time, and while I was there, I said, I'm going to give you phone numbers. And when I got to Block by Block's phone number, everybody booed me down. They said they never come up here. And I want to remind you that West Hollywood doesn't end at Cynthia or at Sunset. It goes above Sunset to Ozita Terrace on Clark and to St. Ives on Larrabee, and I don't even know how high it goes on Horn. But nobody goes up there ever. And if you say people should call, what if they don't have the number? Why not, like I want signs for scooters, why not put signs up? If you need help, call this number. Put them on trees or light poles or someplace where people can see right there at their fingertips a number to call. There are clubs and restaurants, and there's a new big one, Key, that's going to be opening. Now, maybe they cater more to straight people than they do to LGBTQ+. We are people, though. And you have the Rainbow, the Whiskey, Blue Birdie, Rockin' Riley's, and on and on. But they never see you guys, and we would like to see you, because maybe you don't do that much to prevent crime, but just your mere presence can be a deterrent. Just seeing a body there is a deterrent. So we also get an awful lot of homeless over there. I live on Clark, right above Sunset, and I subscribe to Citizen. I can't tell you how many times a day I get reports within 300 feet, within 500 feet, homeless, or fights, or I can't even, like I said, I'm not really prepared, but you should know about it. Did you? I don't know if, and you can't answer questions, but I really want to know if you ever did get in touch with TISA. And if you didn't, would you? So thank you for letting me talk again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. Next, we have Daniel Barilla. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, this time I wrote things down because I was taking notes. What I just want to know is, when we were walking up Larrabee, what is someone in the program, what will they do that I cannot do? Because when I had a knife to my neck, I was able to push the guy off and run. If I didn't, I could have been slit in the back of my throat, but instead it's a fight or flight moment, and I ran extremely fast and got help. My other friend, Maddie, he couldn't move. He was scared as hell, and he just stayed there. From what you're telling me, what they do is they do what Maddie does. They stay there. So what if the guy came up behind the block-to-block guy, and then did what happened to me, and that was push me down to the ground with a knife to his neck? How is that gonna help me at all? He's gonna call the police? Great, we can all call the police. That's not helpful at all. They're only doing things that we can do. They're like glorified bouncers, but without the bodies or the mass to them, It's like, I can be a block-by-block person, and I don't wanna be, especially after knowing where you guys aren't and what you guys don't do, and it just sucks. But you asked earlier about quantifying the ratio, with where they are. The only reason this system works is because we don't know about it. If I knew there was a freaking phone number that I can call after leaving the bar, I would have done that. I've been here for 12 years. I never even heard block by block until 2 weeks ago. Never heard of it. It's not at the bars. I've never seen anything before. And we're all different ages. We're all millennials, Gen Z, all this stuff, whatnot. Why are they just not QR codes placed in all the bars saying, hey, feeling unsafe, want to get home safely? Scan this QR code. Someone will be at your aid or whatever, right? The only reason this works and you haven't had an influx of calls is because no one knows about it. But guess what? When people do know about it, that you guys can do safety thing, you guys are going to fail, because there are so many people that will use the services, and it would just be exasperated by a bunch of people. This system is not going to work. Block by block people, they are not scary. They're just regular individuals. They cannot use weapons. They don't have weapons. And you'd say that they don't even use force. They're like peer mediators between someone with a gun and a knife versus someone that's on the ground. Cops is what we need. Cops is what instills fear into people that instill fear into other people, not block by block people. And mass mailer, that's great and whatnot, but it's a digital age. A lot of us don't check our physical mail, we just throw it away. So a lot of us just haven't heard about this because we're just like, oh, what's this, what's this? But if you get in our faces about it and tell us about it, that'd be amazing. But I've never heard of you guys. And when it comes to block by block people, I have seen them about maybe far as 100 feet from the businesses on Santa Monica Boulevard. I've never seen them past Ramada Hotel. I've never seen them up into Cynthia. I've never seen them down south. They stay where all the lights are and the people are. Because why? Because it's safe for them too there. And if they're safe, then they feel good. What about us?
Thank you, Daniel. Next, we have Enrique Quintero. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I second all of Daniel's points. I also want to add a few more points. First and foremost, I've heard you guys talk a lot about the busy times, about increasing during busy times. I'd like to point out that his assault happened on a Sunday night, which is usually, when things are winding down the weekend. My assault happened on a Tuesday night, Wednesday early morning, which is slow period, right? Because these guys aren't stupid, they're smart. They're 2 steps ahead of us. So if you're planning on increasing block on Fridays and Saturdays, that's already no point. They know what they're doing. They know that the best time to go is when it's slow, when they can pick out 1 or 2 guys on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing, why are we talking about technology? I feel like this is going to have to take a multi-pronged approach. Just saying that we're going to have a few more bodies, again, like I said, glorified bouncers without the mask out patrolling the streets. Why don't we have, we have delivery robots. Why not security robots with cameras built in them? Why not more cameras? Although, that brings me to my main point. What's the point of increasing block by block? What's the point of increasing security cameras? What's the point of even increasing police presence in the city if they do nothing? If the feds do nothing? When we get addresses, faces of these people committing these crimes, what's the point of this even? If they're not going to do their jobs, and then they know that it's easy pickings on our own community. Another point I want to bring out, how do we plan on dealing with the fallout? Do you have any plans to help victims of violent crimes with mental health resources? I usually go to the center and I get private individualized therapy there. Oh, looks like I ran out of my already extended 26 therapy sessions. Now I'm kind of on my own. Is the city planning on helping me with my PTSD diagnosis, with Daniel's, with anyone else's, with Matt's? What about the future people that are going to keep being victims of this clear crime wave, violent crime wave we're seeing? So yeah, just multi-pronged approach, guys. Like, I think we're focusing too much on one thing, one little problem that might look really nice on a newspaper, but guess what? I'm still going to tell people, don't come here and don't spend your money here until I feel that my own city is safe and that I can tell my friends from outside the city, yes, you can come here, because I don't want to keep seeing my friends till one of them ends up in a casket. No. Stay where you are. Watch Netflix at home. That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Enrique. And the final speaker is Melina Kozlova. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I have a question. I'm brand new to this. I've never been to those meetings, but I'm a citizen, I'm a resident of this community, and I wanted to know if I see any suspicious activity, which I have seen multiple recently. I wanted to report my concerns to 911, but I realized that my concerns were not as urgent as some other ones, like a murder or something, but definitely like intense conversations or concerning people that are not feeling well, like throwing up, and I wanted to call someplace, but anytime you call 911, they ask you if it's an emergency, keep staying online. If it's a non-emergency concern, dial a different number. And several times I actually did wait, and one time it was 1 hour and 15 minutes wait time to report a concern. The other time it was 1 hour and 38 minutes, and I think not too many people have that time on hand, especially at night. Both times I called around 11 p.m. here in the neighborhood. One, I saw a hit and run, and I wanted to report it. The other time it was just a fight that I wanted to report, and it was kind of 1.5 hours later where most likely the situation has already been resolved. Please tell me where else to call, what is being done to expedite those reports, and how do you promote an opportunity for residents to call and express concerns? Where else do we call? It's either not 911 related, or people typically don't have 1.5 hours to wait to report a concern. And then I was asked whether I wanted a report back, but I realized that most likely by the time they arrive, the police arrives, everything is just going to be settled. can you please just tell us what to do, how to react, where to call? Is there any application? Is there any website? Can we send pictures instead of maybe calling? What are the available resources at the time? Thank you.
Thank you, Melina, and there is no more public comment.
Director Rivas, is there a way staff can address the information question now that Ms. Koslova asked regarding numbers, or point her in a direction where she can get the proper information?
Sure, absolutely. So we do have the city's website that does provide all of the different resources on our community safety webpage. It will list the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. There is, of course, a non-emergency telephone number that the West Hollywood Sheriff Station responds to. It sounds like that was probably the number that was called. I don't know the particulars of the specifics on the situation, but if a resident or a community member is unsure about who to report to when there is suspicious, and I'm assuming here, criminal activity that is going on, then contacting the West Hollywood Sheriff Station would be the appropriate agency. If it is an emergency, yes, please dial 911. If it's not an emergency, life-threatening, occurring there at the time, in the moment, then that would be something that you would contact the non-emergency line on. If there's quality of life related issues, safety escorts, as we've mentioned, folks wanting somebody to assist them or walk with them, whether it's going to work or doing any other sort of activity in the community, then they can contact our Block by Block Security Ambassador Program. On that city's webpage, each of the individual public agencies or partners, contracted partners, do have a specific mission statement, if you will, that kind of details when to call them about certain things. It provides that number as well. If there's something that is a quality of life issue as well, that's more on the code enforcement side of things, a code enforcement number is provided. There is a city's official city app, an application that folks can download on their smartphones. They can also report issues that aren't occurring, again, in the moment, that aren't emergency related, through the city's official app, and then that would be routed to the appropriate department for follow-up. It provides you with a request number. There's follow-up if somebody did leave their contact information, or they can even report anonymously as well. So those are the best methods in terms of communication. We're also happy as the Community Safety Department to be able to provide folks with information. We do receive community member phone calls and emails on a weekly basis, and we field those requests and those contacts, and then we're able to connect folks to the appropriate department.
Thank you.
Sure.
Item 9C, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department will now give a report on activity for the month of May 2024. Good evening.
Good evening. First, we'd like to welcome and congratulate Commissioner Post on his appointment. So our regularly monthly report, we're going to go through fairly quickly because we have a lot of information to cover today, and I know you guys have a lot of questions for us. So for the month of May, the West Hollywood personnel handled 1,715 calls for service, 86 of these being for emergency responses. Deputies made 39 felony arrests, 91 misdemeanors. We had 188 incidents of Part 1 crimes. And if you were to break that down by district, 55% of that is the West at 103, City Center 20% at 34, and the East 25% at 47. Again, our thefts are always being driven, our Part 1 crimes are always being driven by theft primarily. We've had quite a few pickpocketings, mail theft, things of that continue to drive our numbers. We had 31 pickpocketing incidents in the month of May occurring in our Rainbow District. For our Pride weekend, we had a total of 10 arrests. 3 of these were for pickpocketing by undercover detectives that were present and caught pickpockets in the act during the festival. The incident that we were going to touch on, I think everybody's kind of well versed in it now. On Monday, June 3rd, at approximately 12:30, there was a robbery that took place at Larrabee and Cynthia. Individuals exited a vehicle and robbed 3 people with a firearm. Our station detectives are actively working on this case and following up on leads. At this time, there have been no arrests. We would like to go ahead and open up to comments so that we can move on to our presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions for our Sheriff's Department at this time? Okay, Commissioner Ramian.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Captain, Sergeant Duran. It's good to see you guys. Quick question. Out of the calls for May, how many of these calls required the Met team to be called out?
That data I do not have. We would have to pull that on a regular basis, and I don't think we're pulling that as of right now. So you'd be interested in seeing how many calls for service that we call our Met team out to assist with it?
Yeah, the mental evaluation team?
That would be something that we would definitely have to look at to how to pull that data and to present that to you.
I think that would be really good for the commission to know how many calls per month that require the Met team to respond to de-escalate a situation or to provide services to an individual. The other question I have is in regards to response time. On 9C, for a priority response, it's 8.8 minutes, 8 minutes and 8 seconds, excuse me, for the month of May. For a routine response is 26 minutes and 4 seconds. What needs to be done for that routine response to be quicker than 26 minutes and 4 seconds? Because, you know, not everyone, you know, I guess my question is a priority response would be a robbery, you know, a life or death situation, but a routine response where, you know, someone broke into my car or, you know, it's a domestic violence maybe. I don't know if that's considered a priority response. But a 26 minutes and 4 seconds seems pretty long in a 1.9 mile city radius. Just wanted to know your thoughts or what can be done to maybe lower the response time for that.
Yeah, so for those 3 categories, we have what's called an emergency response, a priority response, and a routine response. An emergency response would be something like you said, like a life or death type of situation, crime happening now, somebody needs some type of medical, something like that. That response is lights and sirens response. We call it a code 3 response, where a police car is going to be responding to you. Lights and sirens, we're getting there as quick as we can. A priority response, that's more of something that's just an elevated level. We're not using our lights and sirens to respond to it. However, we're prioritizing those calls over everything else to get to those type of situations. It could be something where a crime just occurred. It could be something where there's a situation that's kind of volatile and could escalate to something else, and we want to prioritize that and bump up our response. Our routine calls, those are very basic calls, things like report calls, things like I saw somebody graffiti a wall and I need a report for it, so something very basic. So those response times at 26 minutes might seem like it's lengthy, but based on the number of calls that we're getting per month and the number of deputies that we have in the field at any given time, 26 minutes is actually pretty low department-wide for us. Our department standard for the county is 60 minutes is what our department standard is. So we're well below the department standard, and 26 minutes, to be honest, is a very decent rate for a response time for that type of call.
My other question is, just out of curiosity, I know you guys launched being able to file police reports online. Have citizens, residents been utilizing that? If so, like how many online reports are you getting a day or on a monthly basis?
So it varies. I didn't bring again that data to track for you guys. We can do that. We can probably provide that monthly if needed be. So people are using it and are utilizing it. It just depends on how successful it is with them, because some of the criteria for that online reporting system, some people don't realize that their reports aren't able to be done online. So what'll happen is they try to make a report and it might get kicked back to them and say, you need to go into a station. So we do get quite a few reports, but some of those do get kicked back saying, hey, this doesn't qualify for the online reporting. We need more information. We need you to come to the station or for us to be called out. But we can get that data for you.
That would be really great. I would appreciate that. And my last question or concern, I've been getting a lot of calls from businesses in the alleyway by Fiesta Cantina, Circus of Books, Revolver, by the post office loading dock. That area over there has become an unhoused encampment. It is unsanitary. I know that code compliance has been out there, but it's a federal building. So, I know they tried speaking to the postal office over there, but what can be done to clean that area up, because there's a lot of illegal activity that goes on there. It is unsanitary. There's human defecation on the floor. There's illegal drug activity going on. And I've spoke to Vito in code compliance, Danny. He's been out there. Fiesta Cantina owner has spoken to me, Circus of Books and Revolver. And since it is a federal property, the post office, and I know our hands are tied somewhat, but what can be done to clean that up? Just because it's a federal property doesn't mean it's going to be an encampment, because I thought encampments are not allowed in the city of West Hollywood. But that's exactly what that is right now.
Yes, so it being a federal property or even a private property, it does prevent a little bit of a hurdle for us, basically, because it's their property that those people are currently on. It's not like one of those things where they're not just sitting there in the public alleyway. They're actually physically on that post office property. I am aware of what's been going on there, and the cops team has been trying to do their best to address it with our MET team, Healthcare in Action. We go out there when we do find an encampment, try to get rid of it the best we can, and try to get help or resources to those people. However, that property that they're actually physically on is the post office property. So it is going to take a little help from us dealing with the post office, the city dealing with the post office, to try to make some type of a resolution there and figure something out. They do have that strange little, it's like a little ledge that people seem to hang out on. I don't know if there's something that they can do to remedy that construction-wise to keep people from hanging out there and sitting there. But it definitely is on our radar, and we have been addressing it the best that we can.
I appreciate that, because it does become a big public safety issue, a health issue, when you're walking over human feces, empty bottles of liquor, and they really don't care. And maybe it's more patrol, increasing the patrol there, maybe block by block can increase patrol there, but it is definitely unsanitary. You walk in that alleyway, and it smells like a porta potty has not been changed for a year. And that's another issue, that I believe that those alleyways need to be cleaned, pressure washed or something. And I don't know whose responsibility it would be. It would be city's property or the business, or if the city can give some kind of leeway for the businesses, because businesses are getting dinged for pressure washing and all that. Maybe if the city can do it, but it's very unsanitary. It's very, very unsanitary conditions where I myself had to walk over human feces to go to the post office and drop letters. So I don't know, Danny, if that is something that has to be addressed with city services to somehow get that alleyway clean, pressure washed, or whatnot, or is that the business responsibility?
So we can definitely talk with our facilities and field services division. I certainly don't want to speak for them, but they manage and oversee the contract for the pressure washer services. And I don't know if there could be some potential kind of joint partnership with some of the businesses, but we can certainly look into that aspect. I know you referenced code compliance, so code enforcement and neighborhood and business safety, or neighborhood and business safety division. This really isn't a neighborhood and business safety or code enforcement issue. Because of it being a federal property and kind of the elements that and the activities that you mentioned, that's not something that we would have a non-sworn civilian code enforcement officer addressing. But to the extent that we can assist as well in terms of maybe scheduling a meeting with the post office and maybe getting in touch with somebody of authority there on their end to really bring to light the issues that are occurring, probably seems like something that we should move forward with and try to see if there's some sort of resolution that we can work in partnership with them on in terms of addressing the ledge and the folks that are essentially kind of loitering, right, and sitting on that side there. So we'll definitely look into that, and then we'll pass on to our facilities and field services about the pressure washing.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Sergeant Duran, thank you for your report. Captain Mulder, good to see you. Two numbers that did stand out to me in your report year over year from last year to this year are relevant tonight. The assault with a deadly weapon up 500% and the armed street robbery up 50%. They're alarming numbers. I don't want you to talk anymore in particular about what happened on the 3rd, if it could interfere. It sounds like you have some leads, like you're on it. But I do want to ask about a week later on Gardner and Santa Monica, there was another incident with a gun. Could you explain what happened there?
Yeah, I can briefly touch on what happened over there. That was a little bit more of an isolated type of a situation that occurred. It was two people that had made some type of arrangement to meet with each other and exchange some type of a property. And a struggle ensued. A gun was produced and somebody fired a round out of that gun. Nobody was hurt, nobody was shot, but we are currently working on that with our detectives.
So was it like a setup? Was that a robbery situation? A person came with money to buy something and it was really just a robbery? Or?
Yeah, again, I can't get up too many of the details with it, but it was a prearranged meeting. So the motives behind that meeting and that prearrangement, I don't know. It could have been, I don't know at this point.
Good advice maybe for residents, again, we're liaisons between residents and our law enforcement, is if somebody tells you to show up with a large amount of money to do a transaction on a street corner, maybe don't do it. I'm not victim blaming. These people might have known each other, I have no idea, but just the numbers tell us we need to be cautious.
Yeah, we've had situations like that in the past, nothing recent where somebody meets somebody for a transaction that they met, like one of these online marketplaces, whatnot. It's always best if you're gonna do something like that, if that's what you're planning on doing, to be somewhere public, be somewhere visible, especially if it has a large amount of money, if that was the situation. Yeah, for residents, be sure visible, somewhere safe.
And also, I don't know if the detective handling the case of Mr. Quintero can reach out to him and give him an update on what's happening, or talk even tonight. Again, I don't know the details. I don't know what's standing in the way. I don't know if it's state law or anything else, but.
Yeah, Commissioner, Bill Mulder, Captain at West Hollywood Station. Yeah, I just wanted, after the meeting, if Enrique, if you just stay around, I'd like to just chat with you and give you my contact information. And same with Matt. I did already talk to Danny earlier, just to touch base and see what we can do. Very concerning what Enrique, what you said, what happened to you, and I know I'm aware of that. Obviously aware of that situation, but no, I wasn't aware that the way we are at the point in the investigation, or where whoever took it over is at. So let's have a chat after, so I can find out what's going on and see if we can get some sort of answers for those questions. I'm just as concerned as you are about this. I don't know why, the way it happened, so I apologize for that. And then, of course, Danny, I talked to you, Matt, I did talk to you also, just give you my contact information about your incident too. I'm sorry what happened to you, and I mean, this is, none of this is acceptable, these kind of incidents in our city, and we're gonna do everything we can to address them, and anywhere that we have a shortcoming, we're gonna fix that and make sure that we address it properly. Later on, after our presentation, I'll get into some more information about what we're doing, specifically about the incidents that happened to both of you guys, some of the things we're doing to increase our patrols, increase our service to the community to ensure these don't happen again. And one thing I'd say will be coupled with our public safety technology, which we're talking about today, which will certainly help us in the future better serve the community, better protect our community, catch the crooks that are doing this, and also serve as a deterrent to people to not come here to West Hollywood, because we're going to take action if they do.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for our Sheriff's Department? Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do. First one is Nick Roybal. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, Commissioners. Hi, Captain Mulder, Sergeant Duran, Director Rivas. Commissioners, some numbers that Commissioner Nickel touched upon that I hope each of you read in the report that Sergeant Duran put together for us. As I look at it, the 500% increase in robberies with a gun, that was May, right? We're in June, and what happened with our fellow community members was in June. So we're seeing this increase in robberies with guns in our city. So my question to Captain Mulder and the Sheriff's Department and Director Rivas, 2 points. How are guns coming into our city? B, what are we tactically, strategically, comprehensively doing about it? 2 points there. Second, petty theft is another. If you look at the report, petty theft is up in terms of robberies in buildings. Chair Holman, it's up, I think there are 51 reported petty thefts in May. And that's concerning, right? That's probably people stealing people's mail, whatnot. And as I've attended now, I don't know, 8 or 10 of these commission meetings, this isn't new, right? And it's getting more and more. Same with the armed robbery. And the April and May pickpocket numbers, 40 and 39 in the 2 months, 0 arrests. What's going on there? Why is it that our pickpockets are increasing? We have 40 and 39, 0 arrests. Again, question, what isn't working with how we're handling this, seeing this, navigating this with our businesses? It isn't working whatever strategy we're employing, and that's clear by these numbers. So we need to do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Next, we have Steve Martin. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair Holman and my friends on the commission, and congratulations, Mr. Post, on your appointment. Adam, to your rhetorical question, how do we reduce response times? Hire more sheriffs. So next time we have an opportunity to hire more sheriffs, that's what we should do, because maybe it'll go down from 26 minutes. It's certainly been lower at other times. We do have a problem with the alley behind the post office. I suggest that you call Adam Schiff. He's our congressman. He's running for Senate. He's likely to go out there and clean up the mess himself, but he probably will send staff. But seriously, we have access to people who can take care of this, and we need to use those resources. And I would not, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just saying, really, call Adam Schiff. I mean, he will help us. Anyway, and Adam, I do appreciate you asking for the numbers for the Met team, because that's really important. We need to know. And we need to know because everybody, from what we know, they seem to have great results. They're not cheap, but we want to know that we're actually using them and that the staff sending them out and that the community knows about it. So I thought that was a great question to get those numbers, and I'm sure the sheriffs will in the future. I also want to thank Daniel Barrera and Enrique Quintero, because we see these crime stats, we see these violent crimes, and so often they're faceless. And it's not easy to come to these meetings, and a lot of people would just blow it off. But these guys came down here to be heard, but they're really putting a face on what happens to our people in our community, people who come to our community. So we can see them and say, okay, they're our neighbors, they're our friends. And I don't know why that should be more important, but as human beings, it makes it more important. And so often, when we talk about crime and crime stats, it just seems like it's an abstract, and sometimes it seems like it's a political football. But it's really about human beings and people who live in this community, and people that all of us have made a commitment to try to protect and make safer. So I hope we can do that. And anyway, and then lastly, you know, as another thing that I would suggest is that we start a program to really recognize and honor and promote the volunteers we have at the sheriff's station, because we have a great program there. I knew Bill Senegram, who was a volunteer there for 27 years. My friend Richie Silverman, who had a disability, was there for at least 10 or 12 years, and they accommodated him at every opportunity. And these volunteers provide a lot of services, and it's a great way for people in the community to really plug in and really make a difference. Anyway, thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Daniel Barilla. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
So Captain Mulder, thank you so much for being so responsive, and your guys' whole entire office, you know, going after and doing everything you're doing, which is great. I really, really appreciate that. You guys have been very good at doing it, and following the leads and whatnot. But is it because I caused such a public issue with what happened? Is that why they are still doing this? Because no one else has, like he said, like put a face to this and talked about this in like a public setting? People just are afraid to talk about it, and they're like, well, it happens, and it's this dangerous city, and I should be more careful next time, and whatnot. And if that's like the reason that this is getting some steam, that really sucks, because that means all the other robberies that happened in the past couple weeks, it's just like they're just not heard, and they're forgotten, and they're like, you know what, maybe I should just forget this too. No one else is taking it seriously. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it was. And these people are living, I guarantee it, and having PTSD right now, but know nothing how to deal with it. And since I came out publicly with all of it, someone came up to me and told me their story. On April 19th, around 2 a.m., one female driver and a male accosted him and took his wallet, and the assailant said, "Give me your phone." And my friend said no. Before he did this, he pushed him on the ground. He put the Glock to his head, and he said, "Give me all your stuff." He said, "Okay, I'll do that. Give me your code." He gave him his code. Like, "Now give me your phone." He goes, "You're gonna have to shoot me. I'm not giving you my phone." And the guy, obviously his intention was not to kill him, hopefully. And so he took off and whatnot. This was at, guess what? San Vicente and Cynthia, right in front of the fire station. He lives, guess where? One building north as well. He didn't go to the police that night. He sat on the street for about 20 minutes, scared as hell, didn't know what to do, because we all deal with trauma differently. I called immediately. I pushed the guy off. My friend sat there afraid for his life, didn't know what just happened. He went home. He fell asleep. He went to the sheriff's station the next day. He talked to the sheriff and whoever it was, and do you know how nice they were to him? They were rude. The person said, first question, "So why are you reporting this now? Why not last night when it happened?" And no matter what excuse or reason that he gave, the person asking his question was like, "Yeah, okay, well, if it was really that serious." And they gave him the runaround, like, "Why wouldn't you have done this?" Because we all process trauma differently. And what sucks is, like, we need cops that will be sensitive to how sensitive we are sometimes. You know, in a city of just LGBTQ people and whatnot, some of us do process things differently, and we're scared and we do things differently and whatnot, but doesn't mean that the cop has any right to be like, "Oh, well, I don't believe you, you know, like, this doesn't seem like it's that important." It's like, it is, but there's no specific guidebook on how long you should take to tell someone that you've been hurt and robbed and, you know, your life has been threatened. You know, and also, if we had police cars up there just chilling, they'd be afraid.
Thank you, Daniel. Last speaker is Enrique Quintero. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I'm back. Thank you, though, for listening to us, and thank you for all the attention you've given us. You know, I try not to be a cynical person, you know. I feel like cynicism is kind of the philosopher's easy way out. It's easy to just be like, fuck it, everything sucks, nothing's gonna get better. But I feel like when my incident happened last year, that was a chance for me to kind of gain a little more faith in the system. I remember the response time was quite quick for the sheriffs to arrive and to help me with my situation. I talked about earlier how eventually it didn't go so great, but for a while I did feel a glimmer of hope that, you know what, maybe the system does work. That we do have representatives out there that we pay taxes and that they take our problems seriously and that they want to actually solve them. And I gotta say, I think cynicism so far is kind of winning the battle. I wish it weren't different. I'm trying to be hopeful, but it does feel like our very valid concerns are being ignored. You know, we're trying to offer here solutions to these problems. We're trying to offer our own thoughts, and we're trying to get a better understanding of how the system works and how the system can work better for us. But you know, I know a lot of stuff has happened to the police, and I know you guys don't have an easy job, that you're balancing a lot of things, that you don't always have access to the best resources yourselves, you're stretched thin, and that you have a lot of expectations from citizens and from politicians to do your job certain ways. And I know that there's some bad apples that also make a lot of you look bad, and that the whatever the word is for important thing, is they're impossibly high. So I understand that. But also, you know, work with us, you know. Don't just leave us hanging, throw us to the feds, see if they're gonna do something about it, then not follow up. You know, this is a chance for you guys to help heal our trust in you and the people that are sworn to protect and serve us. And to the politicians as well. You know, transparency is great. Why not talk about this more? I know you guys might be a little ashamed of like, oh no, there's a crime wave in our city. But one way we can be a little less scared is to know that you guys actually are listening and are responding and can deal like in a specific way. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is the plan. You know, maybe your Twitter channel might need a little more people to look at it, but how can, this is a more philosophical question for y'all, how can you deal with the citizenship more? Like I found out this today that this is going on. I wish I had found out more, I'd be more active. How can we educate our citizens so they could be more active in the public forum and in their lives? Just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrique. And we have no more public comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Before we move on to item 9B, Captain Mulder, we've had this conversation before. How are we with department etiquette and the way residents are responded to when they call the sheriff's department? For example, if I call AT&T, the call is recorded. Someone is monitoring the calls. Does anyone monitor and check how these situations are handled when residents call in with a concern or a complaint?
Yeah, so anytime when a resident calls in on one of our, of course, on the telephone, those are all recorded. And our staff, our watch sergeants, watch commanders, every shift review like at least 2 calls. They pick 2 calls to see what kind of service we provided, if it was appropriate. Sometimes they'll actually call the individual to chat with them about the service and that it was good or bad. Or anything that we can do better. Or, you know, if it was good, great. If it was bad, what can we, you know, improve upon? And then the incident you brought up when going and your friend who went to try to report that robbery, and if they were treated that way just because it was the next day, that should never happen. And that's something that in the moment, what we recommend to people, if you call in or talking to somebody in person with our department and you're not getting the service you feel you should be getting or having the responses you should be getting, then ask to talk to a supervisor, either the watch sergeant at the station. If it's in the field, you can talk to the field sergeant, request the field sergeant to come out, or talk to the watch commander, which is usually a lieutenant, to let them know what's going on and you feel that, you know, you're not getting the proper service you should be getting. Because the incident that Danny talked about, that should never happen. That should never happen. So, so I think that either, like I said, talk to somebody in supervision at the station and they can try to help you out and fix it at the moment.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, item 9D, the Public Safety Commission will receive an update regarding the 5-year Municipal Law Enforcement Services Agreement by and between the County of Los Angeles and the City of West Hollywood.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the Public Safety Commission. I'm Danny Rivas, Director of Community Safety for the City of West Hollywood. Also joining is our City Manager, David Wilson, on this item. And as you mentioned, Chair, this item is providing an update to the Public Safety Commission regarding the 5-year Municipal Law Enforcement Services Agreement by and between the County of Los Angeles and the City of West Hollywood, which does occur once every 5 years. And so I'm going to turn it over to our City Manager, David Wilson, to provide an overview on this item, and then we, of course, will be here to answer any questions.
Thank you and welcome, Manager.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Public Safety Commissioners. So every 5 years, all contract cities that choose the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as their law enforcement services provider are required to renew their service agreement. And that service agreement, I'll use that term for the purposes of this presentation, but it's the 5-year Municipal Law Enforcement Services Agreement. The current service agreement with the County of Los Angeles is set to expire on June 30th, 2024. That's the end of this month. The new 5-year agreement has a term from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of 2029. Over the past year, a subcommittee from the California Contract Cities Association, consisting of myself and the city managers from Bellflower, Commerce, Doherty, Lakewood, Palmdale, Paramount, San Dimas, Santa Clarita, and Temple City, as well as the executive directors for the California Contract Cities Association and the California Joint Powers Authority, negotiated with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and executive and legal staff from the Los Angeles County CEO's office to revise the service agreement. The attachments to the staff report include the proposed service agreement with the current 575 annual service level form and the equipment use requirements. Also attached are past agreements related to the 5-year service agreement. The proposed 2024 to 2029 service agreement includes several changes which are beneficial to contract cities. The first being the performance will be by service unit rather than overall. The service agreement performance is based on service minutes. So number of deputies and civilians procured by the city are translated into available minutes. The current agreement, excuse me, allows LASD to mix and match those minutes to achieve their 98% to 102% target, but that can lead to unintended consequences to underperform in areas like traffic or special assignments or motor units. So the change would set the 98 to 102% performance target for each specific unit, for example, for patrol or more motor or special assignment deputies, increasing the accountability to cities receiving the level of service expected when procuring the service, each resource. The next is retaining of deleted service units. When a city adds a new resource that requires a vehicle, such as a deputy, the city incurs a significant cost in the first-year expense for the additional vehicle required for the new deputy. The maintenance and replacement costs of the vehicles are already integrated into the annual charge, and if the city keeps the deputy. The service agreement allows that the city regain access to the vehicle procured by a new deputy service unit when the unit is deleted and restored within 24 months, extending that period from previously 12 months. This would have benefited the city of West Hollywood directly when we reduced our number of deputies and then restored them in less than a 24-month period. Instead, we had to purchase new vehicles when those deputies were restored. The next is the transfer of property to the county. The service agreement requires separate agreements managed at the LASD contract stations to govern items purchased by the city and temporarily transferred to the county. The new language requires LASD to maintain a detailed and regularly updated inventory of all non-vehicle equipment in its possession, including descriptions, serial numbers, and if applicable, the condition upon receipt and the location. We occasionally purchase special equipment for the West Hollywood station, so this language increases transparency and accountability in the handling of the city's assets. The next is equipment replacement after extended maintenance and repair. The service agreement requires the county to make its best efforts to provide a temporary replacement if the original equipment takes more than 60 days to be returned. This is particularly important when vehicles are out of service. The language strengthens the required effort by the county to undertake the provided replacements. And then lastly, the agreement includes the continued negotiations on the indemnity agreements. The service agreement includes a 9-month period of continued negotiations between the county and the contract cities related to concerns regarding the cost of liability for contract activities. There's a letter of understanding between the county and the Contract Cities Association provided as attachment G. It outlines how both parties will work towards addressing concerns in several areas raised by contract cities. The language does not guarantee a change, but it recognizes a mutual interest in ensuring the long-term viability of the liability trust fund and controlling the increased burden placed upon cities for activities that the cities do not have control of. The county controls aspects of law enforcement operations, such as training, supervision, hiring, and discipline, and to some extent should incur the liability when such as for gross negligence not controllable by the city. So further negotiations in this area is a positive step. So this completes the overview of the changes to the 5-year service agreement. The council will consider approval of the service agreement at the June 24th City Council meeting. Any input from the commission tonight will be provided in the City Council, to the City Council in a memo and attached to that item. The County Board of Supervisors will consider approval of the service agreement at their June 25th meeting. And then upon approval, the service agreement will go into effect on July 1st, and the annual 575 service level form, authorization form, will be entered for fiscal year 2024-25 at our current service levels. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions at this time? Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you, City Manager Wilson. I did actually, you answered my question, but so we were charged, we did have to purchase new vehicles when we did hire back officers within the 12-month period. Are you talking about when this happened last year?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I think it was the previous year when we added them back because we actually received those officers, the officers that we hired back last year because of a hiring freeze. They haven't been added yet, but when they are actually added, we'd have to purchase vehicles for those as well.
But this is something that you negotiated that going forward, we have 24 months, so this wouldn't happen again, yes? Good, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments on this item.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Commission. And I will sit here and listen to Danny's report on the technology item.
which is item 9E. The Public Safety Commission will review proposed policies for the use of public safety equipment and technologies to support community safety efforts in the city of West Hollywood. Director Rivas.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and members of the Public Safety Commission. Danny Rivas again, Director of Community Safety for the City of West Hollywood. I'm also joined on this item by Captain Bill Mulder from our West Hollywood Sheriff Station, as well as Sergeant Jason Duran from our West Hollywood Sheriff Station as well. So the item before you is related to proposed policies for the use of three specific public safety technologies that we had brought in the past before this body, along with other bodies as well, such as the LGBTQ Commission. We also presented preliminary information to the Human Services Commission and our Social Justice Advisory Board at that time. In addition to that, there was a discussion, a quite robust discussion with the City Council regarding this item on two different occasions, and the last direction, as reflected in the staff report that staff received, was to return actually before the Public Safety Commission for input and feedback regarding proposed draft policies. So I do want to emphasize that these are draft policies. These are still a work in progress, and this is something that our West Hollywood Sheriff Station worked on in terms of benchmarking and looking at other cities that have similar programs. And then, of course, taking that information, digesting it, and also presenting this information to the Los Angeles County Civilian Oversight Commission, as well as their technology subcommittee. And so all of this information that you have before you that's going to be presented to you this evening has gone through at least some or all of those bodies. And so that being said, you do have three attachments to the staff report. One is referred to as the unmanned aircraft systems policy, draft policy. You do see parentheses that's labeled as drones, and so that's essentially what a UAS abbreviated is referring to, and that's consistent with the terminology that both the FAA, that you'll learn more about this evening, as well as other cities provide. In addition to that, we do have a fixed camera, the use of fixed cameras, so that would be your stationary cameras that you would have potentially installed at different intersections. That would be separate from our automated license plate reader cameras, our ALPR cameras that we have installed throughout the city, and that would provide our sheriff station deputies with real live footage at different areas where they would be installed. And then lastly, you have a real-time watch center, which essentially would serve as a hub for all of that technology, which would be the use of a drone, would be tapping into live camera footage if needed, as well as even adding our ALPR cameras that we already have in existence, that we have installed throughout the city, and incorporating that into the real-time watch center. And you will be getting a visual and a presentation that will be provided by Sergeant Duran. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Sergeant Duran. I'm going to give me a second here and place the PowerPoint presentation that will be covered so that all of our viewers as well as the commission will be able to view that. So just give me a quick second here. All right, Sergeant Duran.
Okay, so we've developed what we called a drone as a first responder pilot project. That was basically, the meaning is that the drone is going to be like a first responder. It will head out to calls when we receive them and respond to whatever needs that we have. Obviously, this is some of the information that this commission already knows. We have a population of around 35,000 people, but on the weekends and nightlife, up to 100,000, a 1.9 square mile city. approximately 64 patrol deputies assigned here. We do not have a dedicated helicopter unit assigned to the city of West Hollywood. When we do utilize a helicopter, that would be requested at our patrol level, and they would come out and to help us out. There is no dedicated helicopter regularly patrolling the city of West Hollywood. The airspace that oversees the city of West Hollywood is called Class G airspace, which stands for Class Golf. It's an FAA term. It's the most unrestricted airspace. There's no restrictions whatsoever, with things like airports and whatnot. To give you guys some idea of what the drone would be able to cover, a drone would be able to reach approximately a 3-mile radius. The location of where the drone would launch from hasn't been determined yet. However, to give you some perspective, if you were to travel from Doheny to La Brea on Santa Monica, that would be about 3.1 miles. So the drone would easily be able to cover the span of the city, and the drone would be operating at a height of 300 to 400 feet in the air. The way this system will work is that if we get a call for service, that call for service gets typed into our computer systems and our radio. Our drone pilot or the drone operator would hear those calls and see those calls, dispatch the drone out remotely, transmit that information to our patrol deputies that are out in the field. The patrol deputies would be able to see the drone footage on either their cell phone or their computers in the vehicle. It just depends on how we set that up. But it's all a big circle of communication that would be going on with the drone pilot, and our dispatch center. So the drone would be prepared to respond pretty much immediately to any calls for service. That means that the drone would be prepped and ready to go as soon as a call came out that was deemed appropriate for the drone. The drone operator would launch it. That operator is going to be an experienced deputy with the proper licensing from the FAA that they've already received, and department training that they've received to operate that drone. There would be certain safety precautions that would be done to operate that drone. One of the things is called geofencing. So for example, large buildings, high rises, things like that would be a potential obstacle for the drone. So the companies that we are looking at to operate our drone, they would pre-geofence certain areas of the city, and the drone would not electronically be able to go within those areas to avoid buildings, things like that. So it's pretty safe in that regard, where even if the pilot were to try to fly it towards a building, the pre-programmed in geofencing wouldn't allow the drone to hit, for example, that building. There's also what's called a visual observer that will be on top of a building that would be keeping an eye on the drone and an eye out for potential hazards. The pilot can also assist with coordination with that drone with our field units via radio. The pilot's going to be in a room where they're going to have screens and access to our computers, our radios, and have constant communication with our field units as to what's going on. So what the drone does do, it provides real-time information to our first responders. Basically, we are seeing information and seeing what's going on at the scene at a split second compared to how long it would have taken for a helicopter to arrive or for a deputy to get there. The drone can respond much quicker, obviously, in the air than we can on our in traffic. The drone can potentially de-escalate situations that we're responding to, because the information that we're receiving can either confirm, dispel, or disband whatever that information is. So if the drone sees something that we know is not happening now, we can scale back our response, or we can up our response both ways. It'll also provide a bird's eye view for our supervisors as well as our field units. So our supervisors will be able to see what's also going on with our deputies out in the field. It overall would make it a safer thing for our community. So these are the things that the drone does not do, some of the concerns that have been brought up by various members of the public and whatnot. We do not conduct random surveillance. So that means that drone is not out there just circling around, looking for random things that are going to be going on. It's going to be a response type of vessel looking for information in response to calls. It's just not going to be floating around the city recording people as to what they're doing and where they're going. It's not going to have any type of weaponization whatsoever. There's not going to be able to spray anything, shoot anything like that at all from the drone itself. The drone will not have automatic license reader technology like some of the fixed cameras do. It does not use facial recognition in any type of way. It is a very safe type of a machine, and it doesn't provide risks to our community. We do not track any type of community member movements whatsoever, so we're not tracking anybody going into any type of medical clinics or using that data to track members that might be protected by other state laws and state safety things to allow them to be here in this country. So this video is going to be provided to us by Chula Vista PD. They were the first police department in the country that began with a drone program. They've had a wide range of successful incidents that were handled with a drone. This is one of the examples that they provided us, and I'll let you watch it and I'll kind of talk about what happened. So that was one quick example of how a drone was very successful in de-escalating a situation that happened. If you can imagine that scenario without a drone, where somebody's calling on a phone saying that there's a person sitting at a table talking to himself playing with a gun, our response, or law enforcement's response, is going to be pretty high level. The way we respond to it, the quickness, the tactics, different things involved with a call like that would be very involved. However, the drone got there first and quickly and was able to catch video and provide real-time data to the officers in our dispatch to figure out what was going on, and they were able to clearly see that what he was holding was actually a lighter and not a gun. So that was able to scale back the response and potentially de-escalate that situation before they even got there. So our real-time watch center, these are some samples. Again, Chula Vista is kind of the model city when it comes to drone type technology. They're the ones that began with a program. This is a small picture from their watch center, and Santa Monica Police Department, a model of their watch center. The person that would be assigned there is going to be the drone first responder pilot. That will be the person that will be in there operating it. Only trained personnel are going to be allowed into these watch centers. They will be able to view live camera feeds and coordinate with our field units, and supervision will also be able to access these terminals to see what's going on in the field when deputies are responding. So when it comes to our automated license plate recognition, we have right now 40 sites or 40 locations throughout the city that use license plate reader technology to look at vehicles traveling throughout the city. Some of those alerts that we receive are for stolen vehicles, felony vehicles, that means that somebody's wanted for a felony crime, Amber Alert vehicles, and armed and dangerous vehicles. That's what those things give us alerts for. They do not give us alerts for people based on citizenship and where they live. It gives us alerts based on wants or warrants, essentially, for those vehicles. So now we would open up to any questions regarding the program or in general with the program.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for?
Can I make a question first? So I know that we've talked previously about trying to limit questions to 5 minutes. I think for this topic, I would like to make a motion that we expand that time frame beyond 5 minutes. I think these are important topics, but definitely keeping in mind that we don't want to be redundant and respectful of time.
Well, I don't think it would be a motion, but we can, do a show of hands if everyone's willing to agree. Okay, sure.
Great, okay, thank you. I'm just gonna talk kind of generally first. I know we'll look at the fixed cameras and then the real-time watch, I think maybe later. But in general, my first question, and I do want to say as well, that I really appreciate the content in these draft proposals or the draft policies. They definitely addressed a lot of the concerns that I personally had and that I heard about the community in general. I do just have a question that I don't understand. The policies that we're looking at are draft station orders. Can you help me understand what the enforceability of that is and what kind of things can basically override a station order, and what's written in that policy there?
Yeah, good question, Commissioner Blau. So basically, draft policy, the drone program, just the drone program is going to be a pilot program, and just for 1 year, and constricted only to response to calls, and also maybe crime scene mapping and traffic collision scene mapping. So for instance, like a traffic collision scene, sometimes we can have an intersection closed down for hours. So that the traffic investigators can do a proper investigation and then record the whole scene. And that takes a long time. It's done manually. However, with a drone and the proper program, they can map the scene in like 15 minutes. So it creates a huge difference in time that a intersection is closed down in the city of West Hollywood. Obviously, traffic is a huge issue in the city. We have a lot of traffic going through, so the time an intersection is being closed is pretty critical. So the drone program will be only, again, for responding to calls, and then crime, and then traffic mapping for the period of the year. And then in terms of so because it's a pilot program, it's not going to be something that's happening in the entire Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. It'll only be happening here at West Hollywood Station, and also Malibu Lost Hills Station is also doing a drone pilot program as well. Most of their focus, though, is on search and rescue and, of course, fire. So using that as a tool to help them locate people, to locate terrain areas where fires are starting, or help look at fires. So different things like that. They will also be using it for crime, but their main priority is search and rescue. So for us, again, it's a pilot program, it's a 1-year program, and that the policy you're looking at only applies to our station because we're running the pilot program. The regular policy regarding drones for the entire rest of the department is different because drones are managed through our Special Enforcement Bureau, and we would have to call and ask for a drone to respond out here. Now, obviously, if we have a crime, immediate crime in progress, calling another unit on our department and having them bring it out here, and there's a 4-hour delay, is not helpful. So this is immediate response and immediate use of this technology tool. And it's something that will make a huge difference to de-escalate calls. Like you saw in the video at Chula Vista, it was a person with a gun, looked like a gun. It was in all intent and purpose, it was a gun, except until he used it as a lighter. But that information is really critical to have because the officers responding to a man with a gun call that was flashing a gun around. And so that's what's in their mind. So if they arrived without that information, arrived at the scene, encounter that individual, and that individual pointed that gun at them, there probably would have been an officer-involved shooting, and a very negative outcome would have happened. But having that information helped de-escalate that call and show that that was a lighter and not a gun. So the call was handled very differently, obviously, with a much more positive outcome. So that's what this program is, and we're limiting it just to the calls for the year, but there's many other uses, obviously, for drones. Our neighbor to our west, Beverly Hills, has an outstanding drone program. They have an outstanding public safety technology program, having ALPR license plate reader cameras, having surveillance cameras in the city, having the drone program, and they have a real-time watch center, which is similar to what you saw in the still shots in the presentation. Theirs is a little bit bigger. There's a couple people watching the screens with the information, the video information. The watch commander is sitting out there with them, also monitoring the scene. And then they're also co-located with their dispatch. So when the call comes in, they're hearing the call. They're sending the drone immediately to the call, or bringing up their surveillance cameras that they have in that area, looking at both drone footage and surveillance camera footage to get an immediate eye on the location, which is really, really, really critical in helping, again, to de-escalate these situations for our responding deputies, and also to have positive outcomes, find the people, catch the people, and again, having better outcomes than what we have without using this public safety technology. So again, it's just a year pilot program. During this program time, we can also adjust. The policy we have is not in stone, and if things come up that we need to change, happy to change. If the program isn't liked for whatever reason, we can get rid of the program. If it's liked, we can continue it, we can improve it. So it's always a work in progress, and that's kind of how we're bringing it to the city in this manner and fashion as a pilot program.
Yeah, thank you. And I definitely agree with the benefits that you've stated there. I definitely see the use cases and how in these particular instances, there's huge benefit potential to be gained. But my question is that I still don't quite understand, and it's something that I don't necessarily, the logistics of how the sheriff's department that we're working with here operates. So obviously in the city of Beverly Hills, which you mentioned, they have their own in-house police department. They can set their own policies, and they can more or less, within the constraints of how much the city wants to fight back legally, they have the ability to kind of in-house really enforce their policies. Now we're in the sheriff's department, right, which is the County of Los Angeles. So my question is, for any of the items that we've listed in the drone as a prohibited use, given this, it's a station order. Can it be overridden? And like, for instance, there's people that are higher than yourself within the sheriff's department. Could someone higher up override this station order and utilize this equipment for a different use, whether it be in against the prohibited uses here that are talking about particular missions, or if it's something about the data sharing aspect? That part I don't understand.
Yeah, no, what's stated in the policy is the policy. So, and that pertains to not only everybody at West Hollywood, but anybody higher up than me, or lateral, or wherever. This is the policy that we are using to provide this program. That's the policy, and it can't be violated. If it's violated, then like anything, if we have somebody who's violating policy, then there's an investigation, and then there's a number of sanctions that can be employed, whether it's a prosecution, whether it's an administrative sanction, discipline, just like in any other situation when someone from the department violates a policy or law or whatever, we handle it the same way, conducting an investigation, making a determination, and then acting accordingly. So that's the policy. Those are the parameters that this program can work within, and no one can come in and decide to change those or use those in a way they feel they would prefer to use it. So,
and that's to all three of these station orders, at least that we're going to be talking about tonight, right?
Correct.
That's the same kind of instance there.
They will be specific to West Hollywood because we're the ones that have the program, and so that's the order that's what we're doing. That explains what we need to do. That's what the policy we function under.
Mhm.
And if that's violated, then there would be an investigation and possibly a discipline involved depending on the outcome of the investigation.
Right, assuming the audit found that there was a violation.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. I will continue after my colleagues. Thank you.
Commissioners. Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you for the presentation. I actually do have a question about the Real-Time Watch Center. It mentions that it is not proactively monitored, but for the fixed cameras, they are recording. Is that correct?
So yeah, it depends on what, obviously what kind of contract we get. They will probably record. There'll be a period of time, I think they talk about that we hold those recordings. But when they say it's not being actively monitored, we're not going around kind of looking through all the different cameras necessarily at this point in our pilot program. So that is something we can do. That's something that other agencies do. They have people that are on, and they're going through the different cameras in some of the main thoroughfares, seeing if they see something going on or something that looks suspicious. Just like any individual, any civilian walking down the street, they see something odd, they call the sheriff's department. They would be looking at a video, and if they see something odd, then they might send a deputy out. But we're not doing that at this point. We're kind of taking baby steps with this. And so but however, that video, those videos that we have, will be used for two purposes. If we have a call in a particular location where there is a fixed camera, then we bring up the fixed cameras and any associated fixed cameras that might be going in the direction that the vehicle went or the person went on foot to see if we can track and find that individual. And then we'd be using those also, the recorded part, for prosecutorial purposes too, with our detectives to use that to prosecute these people.
So, for example, in some of the incidents that we've talked about tonight where cameras weren't working on private businesses and things, it is quite possible that we would have recordings of them and you could use them to identify suspects and solve crimes, correctly?
Right, yeah, right now what we're talking about is adding fixed cameras that are owned by the city, the main thoroughfares, Sunset, Santa Monica, Melrose, some of the other cross streets, San Vicente, La Cienega, Fairfax, so forth, La Brea. So we're looking at putting those fixed cameras in those, around those locations. Also, as another part of this, as we move forward through this, and again, there's different possibilities we can explore. I know at Lost Hills Station, what they're doing, there's a program where they can have community, businesses, residents, whomever, that have surveillance cameras give their feed to the sheriff's station. The particular software then translates it into their real-time watch center, so they can not only use the regular, if they have, city-paid fixed cameras, they can also use other cameras that are in the community too, for these purposes. If there's a crime going on in a particular area, we don't have a fixed camera there from the city, then we can use a business or a residence camera as well to get an eyes on the location. We're not doing that right now. That's something that this can evolve into at some point, depending on the temperature of our community and how they're feeling about this kind of new public safety technology, which I think it's outstanding. I would certainly recommend us doing that in the future, but let's take it slow at first.
Got it. Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Freiberg.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. Just a quick question on the data usage, or actually, we talked about how the drone data is only going to be used for 30 days, and then you get rid of it, but the fixed cameras, you have it for 365 days. Why is that?
I think that, go ahead. I saw you.
Thanks, Captain. Yeah. So yeah, the difference is there's actually state law that requires the fixed cameras that government agencies have to maintain that for at minimum 12 months. So that's why you're seeing the difference between the 30 days versus the 365. There's nothing yet that's been established at California state law level regarding the use of drones footage at this time.
This is for the fixed real-time camera? Oh, I see what you're saying. So there's nothing for the drones, it's only for the...
Correct, yeah. There's nothing for the drones, but there's state law regarding the fixed cameras, so we have to abide by that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have a couple of questions. The Real-Time Watch Center, is that going to be within our West Hollywood Sheriff's Station, or is that another location?
Yeah, Chair Holman, it will be at the station. So we're probably going to expand and do a little reconstruction to our dispatch area and watch sergeant office, get to kind of join those so that dispatch, the real-time watch center with the video feeds, and the watch sergeant or watch commander will be there all overseeing that whole operation.
And the pilot program, are we looking at just one individual drone or having multiple drones in the event we have the unfortunate situation of several different things happening at once?
So we'll probably, we're going to probably contract the company much like Beverly Hills does. And they can provide several drones, but then we would have to have multiple drone pilots. And at this point, the drone program will probably, with the pilot program, only be 40 hours a week. We're targeting a particular daytime and to have when we have the most call volume to have the drone up in the air. So as we expand the program, that's something we can certainly look at, maybe having multiple drone pilots in case there's drone missions at the same time.
And I remember when we had our joint meeting with City Council, you discussed how we've actually worked with the City of Beverly Hills because they already have implemented some of these programs. So this seems like a very successful pilot program and something we should seriously look toward in moving forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Beverly Hills is an outstanding program, and so does Chula Vista. Again, as Jason mentioned, they were one of the first. Jason, Fanny, and some other folks from our station actually went down to Chula Vista, looked at their program, saw that video that you saw, amazing video, what drones can do. So we've done a lot of research on this, and it's really, certainly our department is behind the curve on this one. The public safety technology is, I think, critical nowadays. We have it. We should use it. It's really important, especially with what happened with Danny, with Matt, with Enrique. I think if we had more of these resources in place at the time, it certainly would, I think, would have been a different outcome in terms of maybe catching these people and having more identifying information for them. So that's why, we talked about what kind of we're doing, I think, to address that. In the short term, what we're doing, by the way, for the Commission's edification, we are adding additional patrols in the evening every day. As far as I can see, through the rest of the summer, to make sure that there's additional deputies, high visibility in areas where these robberies are occurring. I talked to Danny about this weekend. We also talked about what Commissioner Ramey was talking about, maybe the redeployment, also block by block, using them in a different manner and fashion to address some of these issues in the residential areas. So we're looking at different things specifically to address this, and that's why we're here today with this public safety technology request to Public Safety Commission, to the City Council. We last year came to the City Council with, for many years, we only had one ALPR camera here in the whole city. And we asked for additional cameras. We gave them our great wish list of 39, and they gave all 39. So now we have 40 ALPR cameras around the city. That's another tool that we use to look at issues that happen in our city. Our detectives use those very frequently, and it's been very successful. Beverly Hills has used them too very successfully. You remember the robbery at La Boheme about a year and a half ago with the people who had a assault rifle. The next day they went and committed a similar crime in Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills, using the technology platform we're talking about today, ALPR, using their surveillance cameras and all that, we're able to catch those individuals. And so because of that, we were able to link them to that crime, and they were prosecuted for both crimes. So I can't say enough positive things about the technology. Something in there too, we'll be recording every mission. It's really important to record every mission. So there's any in terms of transparency. So if there's any question about what we're doing, what we're looking at, or anything like that, we can pull up the video and show exactly what the mission the drone was on. I know a neighboring police agency had an issue. Somebody thought that they were looking in their backyard, filming their backyard. The drone was not. It was hovering near somebody's home, looking down. There's one particular, where they live, an intersection of 5 different streets. The drone was looking for a suspect vehicle down each of those streets, didn't see the suspect vehicle and then took off. That individual was concerned, sent their attorneys down to this local police agency. They showed them the video, and they could tell that obviously in the video, the drone was not looking in their backyard. They saw exactly what the drone was doing. And so they thanked them, said great program, and moved along. So we will be recording every mission so that there's never a concern about what we're doing. And also en route to a call, sometimes we'll put the camera up so we won't be recording what we're flying over, unless maybe we're looking for a car. So if we're flying to a call that's on the east end on Santa Monica Boulevard and a vehicle was reported going westbound, we will have that camera down looking to see if we can find that car as we respond to that call.
And during the pilot program, will you be giving City Council regular updates on how the program is working?
I don't think we talked about exactly what the updates will be, but Danny?
Yeah, so we will definitely be including updates as part of our semi-annual community safety update. And so those are performed at least twice a year. But then in addition to that, what we'll also be doing is developing a dashboard. And as a part of that dashboard, you'll be able to see, members of the public will be able to access a web page, and that will provide essentially flight history, what types of calls for service, et cetera, that folks had actually responded to. And I actually just wanted to share that on the screen right now. This is Chula Vista's webpage on their city's website. And so as a part of their DFR, Drone for First Responder program, you can see what they have here listed. They, of course, contracted with somebody to kind of build this out, but this is updated regularly, and so that would be something that we would be looking to replicate as far as providing that information in real time, in addition to those biannual updates that I mentioned.
Great, thank you. Circling back to Commissioner Blau, did you have?
Yes, but I can defer till afterwards.
Commissioners, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Post.
Yeah, so I appreciated Commissioner Friedberg's mention around data privacy, and I imagine there will be policies in place around leaks or things like that, and that the public would be informed around those things. I appreciated Danny talking a little bit about the tracking history as well. Is that something that folks would be able to possibly see in real time? I think there's definitely this Fahrenheit 451 heebie-jeebies that some folks can get around this, and I think continuing to try to address the trust and transparency piece of it is going to be really important for folks. And I think being able to know if there is a drone hovering above your apartment unit and looking in and knowing that that is the police drone and not someone else would be helpful for the public to know that. And then the other piece I had around the de-escalation piece, this is solely going to be used for video, is that correct? There's no going to be really like audio communication from the drone to citizens or things like that? Is it very much just going to be a visual overview, or will there be opportunities or instances where that drone might actually be sending out certain messages, as I know that is a capability that some of these have?
Yeah, it is a capability for purposes of our initial pilot program. That's not necessarily part of it, but that's something that can be part of it. Certainly giving commands to individuals could be important and could be helpful for us. But currently, how we have it developed, it will just be kind of oversight over the incident. But there is that capability that we could use if need be. You know, as we move forward with this too, you know, we even look to having, if this goes successfully, expanding it to maybe having deputies having drones in their vehicles, so that, let's say, if a suspect runs from them, rather than chasing the suspect, send a drone to fly after the suspect to chase, basically go in pursuit of the suspect with the drone. And via the drone, you can give commands and that sort of thing. So that might be a different way of doing foot pursuits, capturing suspects in a much safer fashion for our deputies, for our community, and for the suspect.
Commissioner Harrison.
Just on the, just a couple of things. Thank you for the presentation. Just confirming, we would be leasing this equipment, correct, through the contractor?
Yes, that would, yeah, be true. Yes, we'll be leasing with a company, and they'll be maintaining all the drones and launching them for us. They'll be the second eye. So yes.
And do you know if Beverly Hills, when they launched their drone program, was it always in surveillance mode?
You mean?
Because Beverly Hills uses their drones for surveillance, right? I mean, you receive that message when you go into the city.
Yeah,
so it's different than we're
I believe they
obviously
might
talking
do
about.
patrol missions with their drones. I don't know when they started the drone program, if they just started doing everything or they started just responding to calls. I'm not aware of that, but at least with our pilot program, that's what we'll be doing, just responding to calls initially, and then looking, you know, the appetite to expand the program. I think there's a lot of efficacy to expand the program, but let's see how the pilot program goes first.
And the license plate readers, obviously, the drone could potentially respond to if a license plate's read with one of the 38 cameras. That would be an example of a response.
100%, absolutely. It can respond, but then, of course, it's only within, the drone can only kind of respond then within the confines of the, you know, about 3 square miles that the drone can fly in. So
right, but it would
like
follow
an
those
extended
cars.
pursuit of a vehicle, that might not work, but at least they can find the vehicle, radio to where to our deputies where the vehicle's at, and then they can find the vehicle that way in a patrol vehicle.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Freiberg.
I just wanted to expand on something that Commissioner Harrison said. So looking forward, looking at the other cities, Beverly Hills, Chula Vista, what did it turn into? Like, did it start as, you know, drones as first responders, and now that the pilot is over and done, and now it turned into a surveillance piece of equipment? Is that where this might be going? Like, I'm trying to see where this is going once it's over.
Well, so the pilot program is to see how it goes with responding to calls. Once the pilot program is over, we still will, and it's successful and people want to maintain it, we'll continue to respond to calls. But we can also expand it if we want to, like, have the drone fly over Santa Monica Boulevard. That can happen, or not, if there's not an appetite for that. So there's different things that you can, and then we can expand the program to, then deputies can have portable ones in their vehicles. Again, like I mentioned just earlier about if there's a foot pursuit, they can launch it, or if they're at a home where there was a burglary, they can use it there to get above the location to see if somebody's on the roof, or if there's a hole in the roof, those kinds of things you can use the drone for. So there's many different things we could expand, but it would still be responding to calls, but just kind of expanding from there based on the appetite of our community.
But I'm also asking, so the other cities, what did it turn into? How did it differ once the pilot was over?
So in reference to Chula Vista, which was the kind of the initial police department to have this, they started in 2018. They did a lot of community outreach, a lot of commission meetings, kind of similar to what we're doing, and they decided from 2018 that it was going to be a responder program. So it has maintained that all the way through its existence today. So essentially 6 years of operation, it's always been a drone first responder program for Chula Vista, because that's what the route they decided to keep it at. Their program has...
So they never expanded?
So they've expanded in the number of drones they have for better response times, but they haven't, not necessarily expanded, but they haven't morphed into anything else. They haven't changed it into a surveillance type system. They've kept it as a drone first responder because that's what worked for their community.
Okay, and then Beverly Hills, did it start out as a first responder and then it moved to surveillance?
And again, you know, I'm not sure how they started to where they are today, what the difference was. I'm not familiar with that, how they began the program.
But they are at surveillance at this point
I
for the
believe
drone.
they're doing patrols of the drone down the streets, my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier because a resident did ask me this question. Captain Mulder, you mentioned that if the program were successful, that possibly deputies could have a drone in their vehicle to deploy in certain situations. The drone would be with a deputy. It would not be replacing a deputy, correct?
Yeah, correct. It would just be another tool the deputy could use in an appropriate situation. Like I said, in a foot pursuit, they wanted to follow somebody with the drone instead of chasing after them on foot, or going above a location that maybe is being, we got a burglary call to, and they want to check out the roof, things like that, get an aerial view over something. So yeah, it could be used in many different ways with regard to a criminal situation where maybe we're looking for a suspect.
Great, thank you. And Director Rivas, I think this might be for you, as you know, a lot of residents still have questions. Does staff have planned or is staff working on any community outreach meetings to further discuss this program with residents?
Well, certainly, and that's what we're doing this evening as well. This is a public noticed meeting. We had every effort to try to make this available at least 1 week ahead of time, knowing that there were monthly reports and things that came in a little later on in the week. And so the community will certainly have another opportunity when this goes before the City Council for consideration. And so if council does provide direction and kind of move forward with that, we can certainly, and we will, more than likely be doing more outreach in the community and maybe hosting something similar to kind of public safety open house that we did, and maybe just focusing on this and inviting residents to learn more about the program, learning more about the policies, et cetera. So I think that'll be an essential role to the success if this program is approved and considered by the City Council.
Great, thank you, Director Rivas. Commissioner Aramian.
Thank you. Quick question. It says that the drone will be operated for 40 hours a week, 4 days a week for 10 hours a day, depending on what that time would be. Say the operating hours for the drone has expired, it's done for the night, but there's a hostage situation on Santa Monica and La Brea. Will that drone be able to be dispatched and report to that situation that's happening on Santa Monica and La Brea, the alleged hostage situation?
Yeah, so if it's out of the hours of the drone operating, then no, because we won't have the drone company here, we won't have the deputy pilot here. However, in a situation like that, we can still call our Special Enforcement Bureau and they could respond with the drone. Although, again, it might be a delayed ETA to the location, but nonetheless, we have that option too.
And the hours of operation will be determined by the Sheriff's Department, City Council? How is that?
Yeah, by the Sheriff's Department. So we already actually have looked at the hours. We looked at days of the week, hours in the day, different times in the day, when our highest call volume is. We've identified those days and times, and that's when the drone will be fielded to begin.
And it's one deputy that's going to be assigned to this. So God forbid something happens to this deputy, he gets hit by a bus or is sick for a week. Does that mean that that drone will be unoperational for that time that he's away?
No, currently we have 2 deputies that have their FAA certification, and then they have to just go through our Special Enforcement Bureau training, and then we've just put out for others, and there's multiple people that are interested. So what we'll do is kind of have a cadre of people that have their FAA certification, they have the training from our Special Enforcement Bureau, and then with those people, we'll just kind of give them continual training just to make sure they keep their ability up. So there'll be multiple people in case that individual, the deputy wants to go on vacation, collision or or something that can't work a particular day, we can have somebody fill in behind them.
My last question, I promise. It says the deputy position will be reassigned from patrol to serve as the dedicated remote pilot. So does that mean we're losing a patrol officer to be the drone officer, or will that reassigned position be refilled so we're not losing a patrol deputy on the streets?
Yeah, so I think you look at it as kind of you're gaining a different type of patrol deputy. So he's not going to be driving, he or she is not going to be driving a vehicle to the location, but they're going to be flying this drone and then looking at the location, radioing information to the responding deputies. So yes, you're going to lose a deputy from the field because the deputy will be in flying the drone, but the deputy will kind of be a responding deputy in a different way. So using this public safety technology.
Thank you.
Commissioner Blau.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I've got a few more questions. So, in general, what Commissioner Post said, actually, I think is something key for us to keep in mind. You said, I'm sure there will be additional policies put in place with respect to like data retention and those pieces. I actually do want to highlight that like this is the policy. So if there's gaps that anyone sees in these policies, we should highlight it now so that the department can put together the best policy forward from the get-go. So if there's anything that you see as a gap, anyone, like, now's the time. Okay, so a couple questions. How does the liability work for these items, especially obviously the drone, I think is the highest one that I'm thinking about, you know, indemnity liability for a crash. Let's say it runs in, it hits someone's house, hits someone in the head. How does that work?
So let me just answer the question in terms of the first kind of comment before I answer that question. In terms of like policy and what we're doing, this is like a living, breathing document and a pilot program. So we're open at any time. This is not the last opportunity for you all to make any recommendations throughout this. Really want the partnership of the entire community, you know, to talk about the program, concerns, things they like, or any issues we may need to address, and we can always, you know, adjust the policy to reflect that. So it's not, you know, game over tonight. This is a living, breathing program, not only through the year, if we go beyond the year, beyond, well beyond that. So with regard to the liability, you know, if the drone crashed into a building or whatever, then the liability obviously would be on the sheriff's department for that.
Okay. Okay, so that's covered at kind of within whatever we've already budgeted plus this 250 estimated for the drone program.
Yeah, it's similar to if we're driving one of our police vehicles and we crash into something. How the same way that the liability is taken on us will be the same with a drone.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Basically, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving you all the legalese, but basically,
that helps.
Yeah, much like if we got into a collision with one of our vehicles.
Okay. To the point that you were talking about, I know my personal feeling in this, at least based on how this has evolved previously, was that I was really nervous that this is kind of the one shot, and so I'm trying to make sure my thinking was get this as good as possible right now because I can't guarantee that we'll see it again. But to that point, if we want to like make this a kind of living, breathing pilot program, I guess to formulate this as a question, I won't try to do that, but I think it would be really beneficial instead of having basically 2 updates on this that just go directly to City Council as part of the biannual public safety update to have more regular updates here in the Public Safety Commission about, you know, how it's going, issues we're seeing in the policies. There's some statements in here about the findings of the audits for the 3 different programs that we're looking at will be shared with the City of West Hollywood. I think in all 3 of these, you know, the auditing of what's it being practically used for, where are we succeeding, where are we failing, so we can adapt to that more quickly than halfway through the program or basically when it's over. the auditing, I think, would be a good opportunity to come back to Public Safety Commission with that on a regular basis. And same with the complaint side as well, right? Public Safety Commission is here to be kind of a method for community engagement. And if people are having complaints about the drones making a lot of noise and you're getting those complaints, having it come back here so that we can see that and our own engagements with the community through our different involvements, I think will be a great benefit to any of these programs. So that's food for thought, I guess is what I'll say, towards the prospect of trying to make these as good as possible in terms of adapting and then kind of evaluating a successful pilot program. For the drone software, who do you know in terms of like the contract? So I know that Flying Lion, it seems like, is going to be handling the logistics or the proposed logistics for the program. I assume that then they're also supplying the actual software that hosts, for instance, the recordings.
So whatever company we do decide to contract with, so they'll have all of that, the drones and so forth. And my understanding is that they'll also have the software, obviously, for us to use at the station to be able to fly the drone and do all that, to record those missions, and then storage and all that of those. I think we'll be, did they say exactly about storage, whether it's going to be with where the storage is of the flights? Are they storing with them, or will it be with us?
So that, I mean, it will be their software, but the Sheriff's Department will be the ones that will be managing and accessing that information.
Okay. I guess what I would say in that regard for both of these, whether it's the drones, the ALPR cameras that we've got currently, or any of the other solutions that we're looking at, obviously this is a finer detail that wouldn't be within this proposal, which is kind of us as customers getting on the same page, but from customer to contractor. Within the contract for any of these, I think something that should be key to look at for whoever is like looking at that contract and signing it is the cybersecurity aspects that the contractors are providing as part of their server storage of this data, to make sure that they're going to be doing, regular penetration testing from, external sources, so that we don't have, this data that we're collecting on behalf of the city that we're sort of entrusting to this third party, that they're actually responsibly taking care of it and ensuring it's used appropriately. So that's something, just a comment that is within the contract side of things, not within this policy side, but I would just say whoever within kind of the two organizations that we're looking at here sees that should take a keen eye to. Just a note, I think that there's maybe an accidental contradiction in the drone policy that we're saying here, and it's a little bit as well what you were stating earlier, is that there's a statement in here saying that all of the flights will be recorded for the drone, regardless of the operation. But then there's a couple statements prior in what you've said before, is that, oh, we're not going to record in these other areas. So there is a little bit of a contradiction there, unless you can't say like, oh, we're going to record every mission, oh, but we're not going to record here. That's where I'm a little bit confused.
Oh, what areas are they saying we're not going to record in?
Prohibited uses.
Right.
Refrain from video recording and photographing peaceful and legal demonstrations for the purposes of identifying participants. That's kind of, I guess, in opposition or contradiction with all missions, regardless of the type of operation, will be recorded.
Yeah, I think that means that we won't fly those types of missions and record people, like a peaceful gathering or protest, that we're not going to fly missions over that.
Okay. And so then the intention...
and maybe we have to just clean the language. That doesn't mean that in those we'll fly a mission over but not record it. That means we're not going to fly those missions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but the intention is like, if it's in the air, it's recorded.
Basically. Sorry?
It's the intention is going to be, if it's in the air, it's recorded, sort of like similar to like the body camera.
Correct. If it's in the air, it's one of the missions that we've expressed in this pilot program of the only missions we're flying. And then if it's in the air, it will be recorded.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And everybody said, except, well, it'll be recorded always, but sometimes the camera will be up en route to a call, just not to record everybody along the way.
No, but just because you're
But
getting
unless we have a call where, if let's say there's a vehicle or somebody on foot, they're on the move, and the drone is going to that location, then we will probably have the camera down to see if we intercept that vehicle or that individual on our way to that call.
Okay, that's clear to me, and I understand that.
And maybe that language probably might need to be cleaned up, maybe just a little bit, just to be
Just so it's
clear
clear.
that basically we're not going to fly those types of missions at all anyways.
Okay, great. Pause for anyone else.
Chula Vista, again, how long have they been using this program?
2018.
2018. And have they encountered or had any situations where the program might have been considered problematic, or residents have complained about the program that you're aware of?
So they expressed to us that they got just standard complaints at first, similar to like the example that Captain Mulder gave about Beverly Hills, where they thought somebody was tracking what they were doing or tracking their home, things like that. They've had those type of complaints, and they've addressed them, and similar to the way that Beverly Hills has, is basically once people see what they're doing and the footage that they're actually using, it's not for what they thought it was, essentially. But beyond that, they didn't express to us very many complaints to deal with the drone. When it comes to noise, things like that, it's almost null. You won't be able to hear the drone with the level that it's even operating. So Beverly Hills nor Chula Vista have had noise complaints associated with the drone.
And I'm just curious, is there a reason why Chula Vista was one of the first to implement a program like this? Like, were they having an uptick in crime? And if so, are you aware, has it really helped them address these issues, and has crime decreased or curbed?
I think it was just from what they described, how their program had developed. It was just an initial push by some of the supervision and the leadership there at that department, that they went forward with pushing forward when this became an option, essentially, and it's been successful for them.
Yeah, and also Chula Vista is a much different area than we have. I mean, it's how large? It's huge.
It's a lot larger than us.
So when we were talking about expanding the program and doing that kind of things, I think their expansion really was probably to then put different drones in different areas throughout their area, because they have a very large area. So and a drone can only fly so far for so long, and so their reach is limited. Especially in a large area. So their expansion was basically just providing more drones to touch more of their area. Here, we're fortunate, we have 1.9 square miles. So one drone can access our entire area, which is amazing. And then that kind of then gives us the ability to expand differently than Chula Vista expanded, if that is, what we want to do.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions before we move on to public comments?
I do. I wasn't quite done.
All right, but we need to move along, Commissioner.
Okay, fine. I guess the last comment maybe that I'll try and stick to is the proposed supplier for the fixed cameras and the real-time watch center is Flock. I understand practically why that's the choice that you're looking at, because it's the ALPR supplier, and they've got a lot of, I looked on their website, they've got a lot of these out of the box, like, click and buy, all these different things, and it's kind of all cute and set up. I am concerned about, we're investing $500,000 at least for these time-limited pilot programs, plus as much as we have invested and continue to invest in the ALPR camera solution, with one particular company kind of having a stranglehold over our technology solution, or our public safety technology solution, and being boxed into that and really paid into that. Plus, again, I looked at the privacy policy of Flock on their website, and again, this gets down to the contract side, that I'm sure someone within like legal departments has looked at, but at least on their website, it states that customer data is by default irrevocably licensed to Flock for use. Now, I'm sure that that's not what we've agreed to. And so I'm concerned about that aspect as well. You know, they state on their website, oh, like we're not going to sell it, but it doesn't say things about, you know, indirect sale that they might utilize on like ALPR cameras to say, hey, like this organization has purchased with us to let them know when there's license plates read across these databases of this certain type, right? Not a direct sale, but indirect sale kind of thing. So that gives me a little bit of concern about Flock in general. That I would hope that we're looking at other solutions as well to make us more robust to not getting locked into whatever solution they have. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do. We have one. Steve Martin. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering why maybe the contract should be put out to bid. I don't know. It seems like a lot of money, but that's just me. I did have some. I thought Commissioner Blau had some interesting and good suggestions. Realistically, if there's going to be a review of this policy, sending it before the City Council without sending it to the Commission really isn't the most effective way, and probably isn't an effective way at all to have much input. And I say that in all due respect. The council has large meetings, and those of us who go to meetings see huge items often get put into consent calendar simply because the agenda is so long. And that means that a lot of times policies get rubber stamped and don't really get looked at. And I just see that happening here, that it would just be moved over to consent calendar. Not that the council doesn't care, it's just that they've got a lot on their plate. And it might be a good idea to have, well, not a good idea, it's a good idea to have it come back before the commission and let the public be able to come here and have the generous 3 minutes to vent. I just don't see what the harm is of that. I didn't completely follow on the exact definition of the terms, but I do think that if there are going to be policy changes, which there could be, and I guess I've been around a long time and dealt with a lot of sheriff's issues way before the current regime, way before the current regime. But policies have a way of changing and morphing without any of the contract cities being notified. So I would suggest that the city manager and the sheriff have a memorandum of understanding that if there's any changes going to be to this policy, any of the standing policies, that the city be notified within 30 days. That way, I mean, it should be self-enforcing, but that way, if you read about it in the paper, that the policies have changed, and I don't think they will, but I just think that that might be a way of exercising a little bit of sovereignty over the issue, which can't possibly hurt. But anyway, I thought you guys all had good questions, and the presentation was great. And can you bring some of the drones to our National Night Out? Because that would be great. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And that is all for the public comments.
Great, thank you. Director Rivas.
Yes.
Next steps.
So the next steps is if there's any additional input or feedback that the commission has, certainly appreciate all the questions, all the commentary, and the responses. I know there was a lot of work that was put into this by the West Hollywood Sheriff Station representatives as well as our staff, just in terms of writing all the information that that they put together and supplied us. The next steps will be that we will be going before the City Council for input and feedback and direction on these proposed draft policies. And if given approval to move forward with what's being proposed as a one-year pilot, then obviously there's a timetable involved with that that's proposed here in the staff report. It would take approximately 180 days, so 6 months, to move forward with any of the three public safety technologies. But essentially the real-time watch center really doesn't serve any purpose if you're not moving forward with the use of drones or the use of fixed cameras. So one of those two technologies would need to essentially be approved for the real-time watch center to be established as a part of that one-year pilot. There is cost associated with each of the three. All of the services would be contracted with a company, and we'll certainly, as part of the pilot, we have our finance department, we have our contract management department, we have our city attorney's office who are involved in terms of just looking at all of the elements of any sort of pilot program or contractual services or procurement that we have that's set as a part of a one-year pilot. But if things did not work out, then essentially we would be able to return that equipment back to the contractor of choice. There would be one deputy, as mentioned, that would be reassigned from patrol. But as the captain mentioned, you're still gaining that deputy in terms of the eyes, in a quicker fashion, more efficient, more effective manner in terms of responding to calls for service. And that would all be at no cost, of course, to the city. So there wouldn't be any backfilling of that position. There wouldn't be anything added to the sheriff's contract as a part of that. But the other services would involve us contracting for a company to provide the equipment, to provide that visual observer that would need to be maintained when a drone is in the air. The fixed cameras, as mentioned, would not be proactively monitored. So different from a city like Beverly Hills, you wouldn't have somebody who's there scouring, looking at that video camera footage. But if there was a call that was put out, obviously somebody would be accessing that footage in that camera system. Or if there was a call or an incident that occurred, of course, detectives, no differently than they're doing now with our ALPR cameras, they would be able to go back and look at that camera footage, for their investigation. We have had our ALPR cameras fully installed since October of last year. They were up and running probably in the beginning of September of last year, but they were fully installed by the end of October. We have not received any sort of complaints regarding any of that, any misuse of that, and that's something that we certainly are in communication with our West Hollywood Sheriff Station. And as the captain and Sergeant Duran had mentioned, they've actually been quite effective in terms of apprehending and addressing situations that are occurring in our community. So those are the next steps, Chair. Again, appreciate the entire commission's input and feedback. Next step will be to go to the City Council for further consideration, taking all of the information that you all provided, attaching that either within the staff report itself, similar to what we've done in the past when public safety technology items have come before this body, and then getting whatever direction we get from City Council. And if it's the will of the City Council for us to return with more frequent updates, reviews, etc., or anything else that the council wishes us to look into further, then we can certainly do that, and we'll certainly keep this commission abreast of any progress that's made. So that concludes our presentation and comments, but happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, great. Excuse me, commissioners. I think it's great we, as a commission, have been actively involved with this process since the beginning, with our joint city council meeting, presentations. Does anyone have any questions or concerns now before we move on? Yes, Commissioner Post.
Yeah, I think just the piece that Mr. Martin raised as well, continuing to do more outreach to citizens. I think even if it's a social media post, letting them know that at the next upcoming city council meeting, this will be on the agenda. I just think something externally letting the public know that there is this idea of a drone program and again, a surveillance program that's coming down the pipeline, I think will be good just to make sure that they have the opportunity to speak up if they'd like to.
Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. Just back to what you said at the very last statement there, Director Rivas, about if it's the will of City Council for the status and update of these programs to come back at a regular basis to Public Safety Commission. I guess I have a concern with that. I think it's well within the scope of this commission's charge to evaluate the status of community safety, and especially when we're talking about pilot projects, which have equipment which could be hugely beneficial, but also risky. I'm rather shocked that you think that the statement is that we need City Council direction to get updates on that. Is that correct in your statement?
It is. In terms of reviewing of complaints, that's actually something that does not fall under the purview of the Public Safety Commission. It is written in the municipal code as a part of the limitation, but we will certainly put that forward to the City Council for consideration. And if there's frequent updates, general updates, monthly updates, absolutely. That's definitely something that can come back before this body, but that's something that we would be proposing to the City Council for consideration.
Okay, understood.
Sure.
Yes, Commissioner Hefson.
Sorry, I just want to just clarify, point of clarification to something Commissioner Post said, and using the word surveillance, we're very clear that this is not surveillance, this is response, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Friedberg. You good? No, I just want to make sure, good online, Commissioner Ramian. Commissioner Nickel.
I'm with Commissioner Blau. I'm kind of shocked that we would have to ask permission to get an update.
Commissioner Nickel.
I'll just say what I said in August when we had our joint meeting, that I am unfortunately in favor of this. I wish it weren't necessary. I've read 1984. Before our meeting in August, I certainly met with residents that reached out with concerns, and I understand those concerns. I know that we did ask for the station note, the station memo. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact words in front of me. I'm glad those things were put in place. But I will say that it is different from what Beverly Hills does, but I have read time and time and time again about very quick responses and very quickly apprehending suspects because of their fixed cameras, their drones, and their real-time watch center. I want that for our residents, so thank you.
I would agree with Commissioner Nickel. We live in very different times now. And I also think for the residential makeup of our city, programs like this are vital and extremely important. And I know it can be frustrating to the commission that things go before council and they don't always have to come before us. But correct me if I'm wrong, Director Rivas, if someone wants to make a motion to see something, that's possible, right? But the council does not have to pass any agenda items by us, correct?
That is correct. This item is a receive and file, and obviously as a part of that is for you all to provide your updates. So I want to be clear too, staff is not saying that the commission would not receive an update. What I heard was requests for more frequent updates aside from the biannual updates. That's something that will be included and will be put forward to the City Council. When we're getting a little separate from updates and getting into complaints and wanting to know about complaints, again, that's not something that falls under the purview of the Public Safety Commission, and happy to go over that with any of the commissioners. But we will definitely include all of the commentary, all the input, all the feedback to the city council. If it's the will of the city council to maybe have staff come back before the commission, let's say quarterly, every 3 months, maybe it's bi-monthly. I don't know what that is, right? We've stuck to what we've incorporated into the staff item to try to include it as a part of the semi-annual community safety update. But if it's the will of the council to say, hey, well, let's put this on a more frequent basis and we would like this to go before the commission, then that's what it is. And so I hear the commissioner's requests, and we will do what we've done in the past in terms of bringing that forward to the decision-making body, which is the city council.
Great, thank you. Sergeant Duran, Captain Mulder, pleasure to see you here. Don't be a stranger. And moving on to our next agenda item, item 10, items from staff. Do we have any staff updates this evening?
Thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. National Night Out this year will be on August 6th. Monthly meetings continue to be held with neighborhood watch captains to coordinate and assist with planning needs. We will have 9 National Night Out activations this year to include West Hollywood West Resident Association, West Hollywood Heights Neighborhood Association, Cynthia Sunset Neighborhood Watch, WeHo East Neighborhood Watch, Tri-West Neighborhood Watch, Owls Neighborhood Watch, the West Hollywood Gateway, the West Hollywood Recreation Services Division Movie in the Park at Plummer Park, and the West Hollywood Russian Speaking Advisory Board Block Party at Plummer Park. Details of all of these locations and activations can be found on the City of West Hollywood Public Safety website. An item for National Night Out will also be going to City Council on June 24th. Pride 2024 was a well-attended event. We extend our appreciation to our public safety partners from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles County Fire Department, Code Enforcement, Block by Block, Emergency One Medical Tent Team, McCormick Ambulance, and many other agencies and all city departments for their invaluable contributions to this year's Pride event. We truly appreciate your partnership with the City of West Hollywood and your commitment to community safety. At the next Public Safety Commission meeting on July 22nd, the members of the Public Safety Commission will elect a chair and vice chair from among its members. At the last Public Safety Commission meeting on May 13th, the Commission approved agendizing an item to have the city's traffic engineer discuss options that could be installed to mitigate potential traffic hazards at certain locations in the city. We followed up with the city clerk's office and received direction to forward the motion request provided by the Commission to the City Council subcommittee for consideration on having staff look into it, agendizing an item, or have it go before certain commissions or boards for input and feedback. On May 20th, the City Council approved an amendment to the Public Safety Commission's bylaws, changing the meeting date from the second Monday of the month to the fourth Monday of the month. Beginning in July through December of 2024, the new meeting dates are listed on the agenda. The meeting for August has been scheduled for August 19th due to the City Council meeting rescheduling, and the meetings in October, November, and December will be on the second Monday of the month due to the holidays. This concludes the updates from the Public Safety Division. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11 on our agenda, Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments at this moment?
Yes, we have one public comment. Steve Martin, if you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'll be brief. He says, I know you want to go home and you've had a good, productive meeting and a long meeting, so thank you guys. As I realize that the City Council has approved in concept reducing the lanes on on Fountain from 1 lane in either direction. And as I think it starts to dawn on people that that may actually happen, as a neighborhood watch leader, we're hearing more and more concerns. People are not convinced or really understanding how Fountain's going to work with left turn lanes, and given the amount of traffic that Fountain uses, how it's going to be reduced to one lane in either direction. But probably more pertinent to your group and to us as neighborhood watch people is how first responders are going to be able to come and serve our neighborhoods. I mean, fortunately, on the east side, we have a fire station that's pretty close, but as you know, Santa Monica is very often gridlocked. Fountain is often a very preferred way to go. But if it's in one lane and there's protected bike lanes so that people can't really pull over, the design as people understand it seems to be kind of a recipe for disaster. And for particularly for a lot of residents who are maybe my age, who have a vested interest in quick response times by paramedics, this becomes a very personal issue. So I don't believe that the fire department ever gave a report or gave any input or even saw the plans and the designs. And I just think before we start paying consultants and having engineers come out and spending millions of dollars, that I think the people of West Hollywood at least deserve to know that the fire department has looked at this and at least put in their 2 cents as to whether it's feasible, or if it is feasible, how to make it better and more responsive and make sure that we're all protected. Anyway, thank you, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Steve. And there's no more public comments.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Secretary. At this time, we will move to item 12, which would be commissioner comments. Commissioners, does anyone have any comments at this time?
I actually have one.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bell.
Thank you. It's actually directly in response to Steve's comment. Oh, he just ran out. Never mind. Okay. The detailed design for, although it's not like within this scope, the detailed designs are still under work for phase 1 of Fountain Avenue, so I think they'll be shared broadly when they're done. I would like to make a motion, and I think I've written this down right, so let me say this. I would like to make a motion recommending to City Council that public safety pilot program progress and updates come before the Public Safety Commission to include operational metrics and benefits, as well as pilot program complaints and audit findings. That's my motion.
Do we have a second?
How often did you say?
I didn't put in a time frame, but I'm amenable to time frames. I could say like bi-monthly, maybe? Monthly?
Commissioners?
Can you repeat the motion again?
Yeah. A recommendation to City Council to direct that public safety pilot program progress and updates come before the Public Safety Commission to include operational metrics and benefits, as well as pilot program complaints and audit findings at a rate of X. I'm trying to balance it being overly onerous.
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to wonder, like, can they get this all together within a month? Can they get this together, audit finding is...
The audits they've listed in that as being quarterly at the very least, but I think that that's one of my biggest concerns is, and this is a different statement, but the use case here, and I think a lot of people have shared this, the use case and the huge upsides with these pilot programs, I think are very clear and evident to me, right? When you're talking about, now we've got some cameras along Santa Monica Boulevard, so we can catch when something bad happens, and we can go back and record that, that's clear to me. Getting a drone and then launching a drone so that we don't have a helicopter landing on La Brea Avenue and blocking La Brea, that's a clear use case to me. But I think the devil is in the details, right? There's that phrase where if we're not careful about exactly how we constrain the utilization, and especially my concern is within the unauthorized access to any of this information, that's my biggest concern. speaking practically, whether it's someone locally and nefarious or it's someone, remote and nefarious. These aren't on-premises servers. They're hosted by AWS somewhere random, right? And ensuring that, there's proper audits to understand, okay, the servers are getting regular updates, right, for security updates. Audits to understand, hey, we've got all this data collected. We've got these policies that say we're not going to share this information with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or other organizations, unless it's approved by the station captain, right? Those are the kind of details that I'm most curious to, ensure are watched. And I would like to see, and I think that this is a good avenue to have that be shown with the public and clear, just like the Brown Act, right? Sunshine laws. I think it's a similar method here. And again, the upsides are clear and evident to me, and I'm hugely in support of. I just want to make sure we're doing this right, because it's a can of worms, So that's overall my goal. But I'm amenable to adjusting the motion, and I know that obviously, even this is a motion to recommend it. It doesn't do anything. It still needs the direction, but that's where I'm at.
Commissioners, does everyone have clarity?
Chair, and just to reiterate what I had mentioned a little earlier, so the West Hollywood Municipal Code governs the Public Safety Commission. And so as I cited in the subsection underneath that, it doesn't allow the Public Safety Commission to investigate or look into complaints or contracted services as it relates to our public safety contracts. So in order for that to be considered, that would have to be a municipal code change that is considered by the city council. So certainly hear all the rest of the motion, but I just wanted to make mention of that to the full commission again, that's not something that falls under the purview of the Public Safety Commission.
Okay, thank you.
So then what if you just take out complaints and we just get the rest of the information?
To talk about just the benefits and sort of metrics, and also cut out audit finding, I guess, as well. Would that fall within the scope of, is audit finding within the scope of, or outside of the scope, or would require a municipal code adjustment?
So that's something I'll definitely ask our city clerk's office to take a look at. I would think so, because it's looking into the investigation part. It's investigatory work, and it's findings that you would want to be discussed. And so I will certainly, ask the city clerk's office to take a look at that. And if it's something that can fall into that, then we can certainly include that. But I think everything else, I think the crux is the updates, right? Having updates come back before the commission more frequently than 6 months is what I'm hearing. And so if that's something that the commission as a full body wants to make a recommendation to the city council to consider, it's something that we planned on putting in the notes already and in the staff report that goes to the council. But you can certainly make a motion, and we can reiterate that in 2 different parts of the staff report item.
Commissioners.
Do you still want to do the motion?
Yeah, I can revise my motion. So I'll make a motion to recommend to City Council that Public Safety Pilot Program progress and updates come before the Public Safety Commission on a bi-monthly basis.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So Director Rivas.
Well, I guess we'll take a roll call as it relates to that in this instance.
Commissioner Secretary.
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Nay.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Nay.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Nay.
heard the majority. So the majority approved moving forward with the motion. So we'll certainly include that to ask the city council to have staff bring back an update regarding the pilot programs on a bi-monthly basis. And to one of the commissioner's points, obviously, I think in the beginning stages for us, it's gathering that data. Don't know how manual that's going to be, but if it's automated and something that's pretty easy to do, that our contractors to do, I certainly wouldn't see a problem with staff being able to do that. But if it's very manual, like what we're seeing with some of the public safety updates and all the stuff that we're already bringing forth to the commission every month, there may be some challenges, but I don't know that yet. I just wanted to make mention of that. So that would be a part of what we would be responding to the city council as a part of that consideration. So.
Great, thank you, Director Rivas. Commissioners, any other comments?
Well, I was going to put another motion forward that I had spoke about before that's long overdue that I had mentioned also Vice Chair, Commissioner Salzman wanted to do, which was to do a biannual, for the city to do biannual SB 1421 Right to Know Act records, to request them every 6 months. The right to know, just in case you're not aware, is the mandate to disclose records of officer-involved shootings, excessive use of force, sexual misconduct, dishonesty related to an investigation. And this also kind of protects the deputies and the station, the sheriff's employees, from a lot of chaos that the gangs have incurred in other departments where they harass their own sheriffs. So I think getting this biannually, which I know it's going to take a long time because getting records of this sort of thing, but they did open a new record unit just specifically for these records because they were that important that the County Board of Supervisors had opened, an actual office just for these particular records. So I think if we get them biannually, at least the city makes that effort and then reports back to us. I would like to put that motion forward.
Thank you. Director Rivas, is this within our purview?
Well, that's something that I'll have to check in with the city clerk's office. You can make the motion and go through it, and I'll definitely check with the city clerk's office to see if that is falling under that investigatory and kind of complaint based. I know this is information though that in full transparency that they place out in the website on the Sheriff's Department. So I think the ask is just maybe compiling that information just to West Hollywood. I know that's my understanding, that's not information that's publicized in terms of like the specific station because of the MOU with deputies and certain restraints, but I know they do put forth information. So we can certainly look into that if that's the majority will of the commission here, to speak with the city clerk's office and then also with the Sheriff's Department to see about reporting on that twice a year.
Great. Do we need to do another commission vote?
I would in this instance, yes. That would be my recommendation to the commission.
Great. Commission Secretary?
What I had a motion. Is there a second?
Oh, sorry. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we do have a second.
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Yay.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Nay.
Commissioner Nickel?
No.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
So the majority of the commission agreed to move forward 4-3. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other comments?
Actually, yes. I just wanted to thank everyone who came out to speak today, especially Daniel, Matthew, and Enrique, the victims who were robbed up on Larrabee. I know it took a lot of courage for them to come out and put a face to the name of what happened. And I wish they were still here. I would tell them, but I appreciate them coming out. I know that took a lot of courage. And I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Rivas, question. Does a motion need to be made for us to review our bylaws? I I'm thinking the last time we did our bylaws, it was a different seated commission here. Is that something that we need to review as a body?
You only had one commissioner that's sitting on the commission now that was not a part of the last update, and that's Commissioner Post. The remaining 6 were all present in here when we went through the bylaws, as well as the West Hollywood Municipal Code section. But sure, you can certainly make the request. I know as a part of the orientation and onboarding for the new commissioner, the city clerk's office should be scheduling some time to kind of go over all that information. My understanding that's done as well with each individual commissioner, but if you'd like for staff to bring back an item to go over that, we certainly can. You can make the request, and as long as we get a consensus up on the commission, we're happy to do that. What we can also do is we can send the full commission a copy of the bylaws, as well as the West Hollywood Municipal Code section that I referenced, and that entire section in the municipal code for the commissioners to review again. But I'm happy to place it on a future agenda if you'd like.
No, I think, my apologies, I thought we were a different seated body. It's all starting to blur together for me. But maybe, yeah, any refresher updates sent to commissioners, if staff could do that, I think would be, very valuable. At least we'll all have it, like immediately present.
So I'm sorry, you're making a request for staff to
Yes.
bring back an item?
No, not an item, maybe just like you had mentioned, emailing updates to commissioners, just so we all have updates.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. We'll do that this week.
Okay, great. Commissioners, anything else?
Just
Commissioner Harrison?
really quickly on the 2 items that were put forward and passed, you're going to speak with the clerk, and then you'll report back to us on how that turned out.
Yeah, more than likely I'll send an email.
Send an email?
Not wait for the next commission meeting. We'll check in and
great.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Freiberg.
I wanted to congratulate Commissioner Post and welcome him to our commission. I wanted to thank the sheriff and Block by Block and the fire department, first responders, and the city, of course, for keeping all of them keeping us safe during Pride and the magical event that it was. And also to the victims of the Larrabee robbery, and also Enrique, Daniel, Matthew, Enrique. I mean, to come forward, their lives have completely changed. This is very traumatic and it's a very sad experience, and I really hope the sheriff takes this serious and really gives them all the help that they need. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I believe I saw Captain Mulder speaking with them. Mayor Erickson did come back to Chambers, and he spoke with them. I thank them for coming as well. And once again, welcome Commissioner Post. Commissioners, I think we had a great meeting tonight. Thank you to our residents for coming. We like to see you here. We like to hear from you. It's important. It is late. But also, thank you, commissioners, for a great meeting. And with that, we are adjourned until July 22nd at 6 p.m.